Anytime you like.
And 30 in the morning.
No.
We made taxi
With Urshir, but
There's definitely a beer tax, so definitely.
yeah, there's a
Tax is 1/6, so he brings a 6-pack. He has to give one to each of us.
very nice for him.
So, good morning, everyone. We are live from the first game of the Houston Premier League at the Moosa Cricket Stadium, and we've got the UMMC Knight Riders who won the toss, and they put the Stallions into bat first. Sachin Kumar and Shams Arifin came out to bat. The first over was bowled by Ryan Pathan, who's a Canada T20 player, played Pakistan first class. He's traveled down to play for the Knight Riders, and he conceded 6 runs of the first over. Sachin Kumar, who's come down from Dallas for the Stallions, is batting on 4 of 3 balls, and Shams is batting on 1 right now. So, Brian, what were the signs from the first over?
I think the conditions are such that players are going to start getting used to maybe a little bit of slipperiness in the outfield, maybe a little bit of dampness around. You can see the very first ball that was bowled was a wide down the leg side, and he immediately looked at his landing spot on the pitch. So that indicates to me that the run-up might be a little wet. Of course, he corrected it after that. And then a couple of loose shots in the first over, one where Shams, I believe, was almost caught at point. So players, I think, just right now trying to get into the right conditions and trying to get used to the conditions. As we spoke about earlier, I think you'll see that kind of improve as the day goes on.
And a very trusted warrior for the Knights has come into bowl next, Janisar Khan. He's known for his nippy deliveries, gets a ball to move in off the seam. So he's really going to test these two batsmen. Shams and Sachin both are technically very sound, but Janisar is just going to keep testing them outside that off stump. That's what he's known for. He can move the ball both ways. So here he comes. And another good delivery outside the off stump. Just as we predicted, he keeps bowling in those right channels, just around that 4th stump line, getting the ball to pitch and seam just a little bit. And Shams had a bit of a wide slash, didn't connect. I think that was the 3rd time in a row. And really loses his balance, just kind of walks into the shot. So he'll have to regather himself and come back strongly. because Janissar is going to persist with that channel outside the off stump. He's known for that.
Further to the point that you were just making about Janissar, probably the most dangerous thing about his bowling is that he has the ability to move it both ways. So, as a right-handed batsman, you'll see the ball leaving you. A couple of big walks outside off stump that missed. But the one that comes back in is the one that is going to be the most dangerous. So we'll just kind of keep watching to see what happens here.
Very true, and it seems, although we are not really right behind the stumps, it's hard to tell which way the ball is moving. But based on the way Shams is going into his shots, looks like he has been cramped a couple of times. So maybe he's getting that little deviation in the air into the right-hander and really cramping them up. So pretty good over by Janissar, right on the money, testing the batsman ball after ball. And Ryan Pathan is now going to continue from the parking lot, and he will be bowling to Sachin. Sachin, if you recall, just a year ago he was part of the Cricket USA combines held at the Moosa Cricket Stadium, and eventually made it to the roster of 30 of the US national team. So pretty accomplished player down here in Texas, facing Ryan Pathan. And beautifully worked off his pads. Ryan drifts again onto the pads of the batsman. He's done that a couple of times. And Sachin makes the most of the fielder being all the way back on the boundary. Gets back for 2.
One thing to watch as the game progresses today is the speed of the outfield. This ball was clipped very firmly. I thought it was timed very well. And it barely got outside of the 30-yard circle. You would anticipate with a damp outfield that with no rain, I believe, scheduled for the rest of the day, but conditions right now being overcast and cloudy, that the field will completely start moderating in terms of its speed from now till the end of the day. But right now it makes conditions a little bit tricky to bat. I think the big fast ball from Canada is now showing that he's getting accustomed to the conditions. Heel for LBW, no, not given by the umpire Owen Brown, and I believe there may have been just a couple of sounds there, so there may have been an inside edge. Players kind of disappointed that that wasn't given, but Owen Brown, one of the best umpires really in the country, and generally does a very good job of managing the game. So somebody with a tremendous amount of respect, not just in Houston but throughout the country. Very competent umpire.
Definitely, and Owen's been leading the panel of umpires. And he's quite an enforcer, so to say. Again, tight line and length. He's really making them hop. He has that big wound, Bakari in the Shoaib Akhtar kind of a wound, where the arms really swing back and he comes all loaded up into his action. And that was called a no ball from Owen. So this would be a free hit.
If you're struggling to get the ball off of the square, the best thing that you'd want to see is the opportunity to have a free hit. So with the field or the batsman having run a single, the field of course can be changed. So you can see now both there's a fielder at deep mid wicket and at long on. Those are now the two fielders outside the circle. Let's see what happens with this no ball, or with this free hit rather. Pulls up in his run up. Probably wants to think a little bit about the type of ball that he wants to bowl. Obviously, with a free hit, only a limited number of ways that the batsman can be out off of a free hit. So the batsman pretty much has license here to do whatever he can to score runs. Side towards mid-wicket fielder coming in, catch taken, of course he's not out, and the throw comes back into the non-striker's end. The batsman run 2. So productive in that sense. And even though it was a free hit, it effectively allows the batsman to become accustomed to playing a shot that ordinarily he would not have played. So part of the process of playing himself in. We'll see how that continues to manifest itself here as everybody tries to get accustomed to the conditions. Short ball, cut away behind point down to third man. Batsman go through for a single. Chipped in the air, is going to land safely. Fielder running around from mid-on and cannot prevent them from running 2. There'll be a lot of 2s I would predict in this innings because the ball is not going to travel very far towards boundary with the outfield being as thick as it is. So that's the end of the over, and at the end of the over we'll get an updated score here shortly with a slow and steady start by the openers. After 3 overs, the score is 17 without loss. Janissar Khan continuing from the far end. Single scored off of the first ball. Janissar with that ubiquitous grunt at the point that he releases the ball. Shams cuts this one away just past or to the left of Rizwan Chima there at the batter's point position. The batsman runs through for 2. On this occasion, the ball is a little bit too far outside of off stump for umpire Altaf's liking, so signals are wide. Score moves up by 1. And Munir, one thing I'm happy to see is that each team has a member of the U19 squad in the final, in the playing 11. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was one of the things we were definitely looking to bring on this year into the HPL. Given that we all felt that Houston youth cricket structure has come to a point where the kids have been playing enough cricket and they can really step up and venture out into high performance tournaments like the Houston Premier League. And we've had a pretty good response. We got about 30 odd registrations come in from the under 19 players, and we've got these 12 boys part of each of these 4 rosters. So it's been good. We went ahead and made one mandatory under 19 in the playing 11, and we've got some serious talents who showed up for that gig.
And you might think with a tournament of this magnitude that if there was somebody who was on the field that was, say, 15 or 16 years old, that he would be sort of kept out of harm's way at fine leg or third man. If you see the fielder right now at Gully is that United player. That is a really, really high degree of confidence being placed in that young man. Great science to see. So lofted shot over the top of backward point now down to deep sort of wide third man, and they scramble sing another couple runs. Ball on this occasion staying just a little bit low, and Sachin doing well to jam his bat down in time to keep that ball from disturbing the furniture. Again, wide outside off stump, and again, umpire out top signals that this one's a little bit too far outside of off stump for his liking. Score moves up by one, I believe with one ball to go in the over. Sachin not taking very many chances, waits for the bowler to come to him, and he's really risky as he works the ball through the leg side. He really is a treat to watch. Tight, ball is on, and at the end of the day, everybody is safe. So scrambling, single taken there, and at the end of this over, we'll have an updated score shortly, but generally a pretty economical over, but you get the sense that the openers are looking to start shifting from first to second gear here. We'll now have some left-handed spin. Jermaine Levine, very experienced cricketer, West Indian U19 cricketer. Ooh, the very first ball is chipped so easily. Really soft dismissal there, and it's taken at extra cover by, I believe, Rizman Shima. First wicket falls. That would be Sachin, who did not quite negotiate that ball effectively and played a little bit too soon, a little too far away from his body. Ended up chipping a really meek catch to extra cover. First wicket down. 4.1 overs. Score now 27 for 1. Jermaine Levine continuing. Wide down the left side. Score comes out to 28 for 1. 28 for 1. Generously flighted delivery there that time from Jermaine. Punched to that man at extra cover, Rizwan Chima, who took the catch that resulted in the only wicket of the match so far. Oh, another wicket goes down. This ball is chopped down onto the stumps, so the batsman does not last very long. 2 wickets down, score is now 28 for 2. And the Stallions are in a bit of a spot of bother. So in his first over, and the first over of spin for the match, obviously still in the power play, Jermaine Levine in 4 balls has taken 2 wickets. So after 4 balls of Jermaine Levine's first over, he's taken 2 wickets, scoring now 28 for 2. New batsman is in. Generously flighted delivery, and it absolutely beats him all ends up outside off stump. Now going on the attack with the fielder from extra cover is one Chima now at first slip. Captain Majid Rizvi is back at extra cover, and now 1 ball to go in this over. Beautiful, beautiful over. Bowled by Jermaine Levine. Oh, check that. There's 1 ball left. Yes, there was a wide in this over. So 1 ball to go. No runs off of the bat yet. 28 for 2 is the score. And the final ball of the over. Defended into the covers. That is the end of the over. Very, very successful over by Jermaine Levine. Stallions on the back foot, well and truly here. 28 runs for 2 wickets. So Janison Khan to continue, or Janisar rather, Khan to continue for his 3rd over. 28 for 2. Going to Shams, and he big walked outside off stuff, misses that ball, and again another wide given by umpire Altaf. 29 for 2 now the score. Shams on strike. He's not out 9 off of 13 deliveries, make that 14 deliveries with that wide. And it's ball defended, fielded well there by the U19 player on the side, and he gets congratulations from his keeper. Again, he's at a very tricky position for a player of that youth. He's at gully, and of course a big slash outside off stump could find him in the action. Beautifully driven, but straight to Jermaine Levine and shy at the striker's end, misses. But again, you can see Shams, who's been at the wicket now for a few deliveries, is looking to try to accelerate, but all in all, they're more restrictive at this point than they'd probably like to be. Again, beats him outside off stump after 4 deliveries. No runs yet off of the bat. We're still at 29 for 2. 2 balls remaining, I believe, in the 6th over. This one is cut very nicely down to third man, but only for a single. We were talking earlier about the fact that the outfield is a little bit thick and a little bit lush, particularly with the rain around. It does not make things any easier. And this ball that was cut relatively hard, still rolling almost to a complete stop before it got all the way to third man. So Sushant Moda is going to Madani is going to face his first ball. Fans into the covers, quick single was well run. Whenever you take a quick single like that, it's so imperative that you have to have immediate communication between yourself and the non-striker. This time the non-striker was pushing to get that single. That would be Shams, and he was successful in getting that single for his team. And last ball to go in the 6th over. Over the top of mid-off, that's well hit. A couple of bounces and thick outfielder knot that does go all the way to the defense for the first boundary of the match. So Janissar will not like the ending to that to that over, but at the end of it, we are at 34 for the loss of 2 wickets. 35.
You need to go help this guy. Yeah, I've been like tight with this thing. 35.
35 for 2. 35.
It's asking you to get the app. You can do it. Oh, okay.
Jermaine Levine into his 2nd over.
Oh.
2 balls bowled, and the score is 36 for 2. Banded by Shams there. 2 backward point region, no chance for a run. Shams on 14 off of 18 or 19 balls. And Sushant just getting his innings underway. Scored 2. $36 for 2. air towards top corner. Rizwan Chima running around from long on and retrieves the ball and returns it in. Do not stop the batsman from running two. Score moves up by 2 to 38.
And all of you also looking to follow the live scorecard. It's on the punch-cricket.com website. The Chaka scoring platform is integrated into our website, so you can also go over there and follow the live scores for this game. And we are also streaming live on our YouTube channel on HPL. Just search for Houston Premier League and it should show up. It's on the live videos right now. Jermaine comes into Shams. And nicely glided by Shams to the left of backward point, and they come back for a couple. So Shams has settled into a good rhythm. He's batting around a strike rate of 80 right now, but he would want to take it up pretty soon once he settles in. And he is the kind of busy player who can very well just go in and start scoring the boundaries once he's settled. So at the end of 7 overs, the Stallions have made it to 40 for 2. So they've, in spite of losing a couple of early wickets to the hands of Jermaine, they've maintained a good scoring rate around 6 and over. And they have the kind of power in their batting lineup to accelerate in the final 6 to 7 overs. They just need to ensure they don't lose any further wickets in these middle overs.
Out ball the 8th over, Farouk Tariq. Left arm. Top edge sweep, but nobody down there in the 5-leg region. They're going to be able to run at least 2. Chima running around from short third man to retrieve that ball. So 2 runs in total. 42 for 2 to score. Probably want to pitch that ball because I'm sure he, in getting his right line and length, something that's going to be important to him. Another full toss, and this is clipped to a square leg. Batsmen are coming, looking for 2 again. Throw coming into the non-strikers end. So 2 balls and 4 runs. The ball has not yet landed on the pitch. Shot the beneficiary of 2 full tosses, and now he's looking to continue to push on as we're moving towards the 8th or towards the halfway point of the innings. Good delivery this time. Okay. So correction, the score in the bowler is actually Ayub. I said Farouk earlier. Ayub Tander. Left arm spinner, orthodox.
That's why I was wondering what happened.
Another good ball, defended right in front of the stumps. Keeper runs around and retrieves it. So after 2 ordinary deliveries to start the over, Ayub has actually bowled 2 very good balls here, having Sushant reaching forward for the ball, which is what you want when you're a spinner, particularly a left-handed spinner. Another ball that just spins past the outside edge. He really does have his right line and length now. 5 deliveries gone, 4 balls, or 4 runs to the total. But it appears now that Ayub has found his right line and length, and he has Sushant reaching for that delivery.
Okay, this one. Okay. Your name is Pam.
White ball down the leg side. Score moves on now to 45 for 2. Still with 1 ball remaining. Full toss, punched just wide of that man at extra cover, so the batsman scrambled for a single. At the end of the over, the score is 46 for 2. 4-6 for 2.
46.
Score 46 for 2. 46 for 2.
तो तुम लोगों का अकाउंट था ना किस स्कोर से किस अकाउंट से स्कोर कर रहे
Jermaine Levine continuing. No run there after some eagerness by Shams to try to get to the striker's end, but correctly sent back by Sushant.
What? 46.
Beautiful delivery, flighted, pitched, gripped, and left Sushant. In the end, no run, but Jermaine Levine is really bowling a very economical spell here. Another well-flighted delivery, left arm around the wicket. Ball is drifting in, pitching, and leaving the batsman. So that slip fielder will probably be very important sometime very soon. Jermaine again to continue. Big drive outside the off stump, misses. The keeper goes up. The first slip goes up. Very economical. 4 balls, no runs. Score still is 46 for 2, 8.4 overs bowled. This ball is pushed through more quickly and defended at the last second by Sushant. Jermaine is pulling out all of his bag of tricks here. 5 dot balls to start the over. And the pressure is building on the Stallions. Quick single to end the over, but a really, really economical over by Jermaine Levine. 1 run from those 6 very good balls. And at the end of that over, the 9th over has been completed. The score is 47 for 2. 47 runs, 2 wickets. For 2 after 9. Ayub Tanvir to continue. He will be bowling to Sushant. Full toss, swung away, no one out there, deep mid wicket. That ball is going to go away for 4. So after a really economical over by Jermaine Levine, a little bit of the pressure has been released at that point, with a full toss that's been dispatched as you would expect a top order batsman to dispatch a full toss. 4 runs to start the over. 51 for 2. Sushant moves on to 12. Better delivery. This one outside off stump and spinning away just slightly. So Sean defends right in front of the wicket. No run. $51 for 2. Fly to delivery and punched into the upfield. 1 run and they're coming back for 2 and they just do make a good run there in the end. Scoring out 53 for 2. 9.3 overs bowled. Captain Majid Rizvi takes himself from slip position and goes to block that spot on the offside where that ball just went. Fly to delivery, and this one is fielded by Jermaine Levine. At extra cover, no run. Sheik is single run there and not out. It was actually a very well run single, very well judged single in the end. Sort of a late cut play there, and Rizwan Chima immediately fielded the ball and returned it to keeper who broke the stumps, but umpire Owen Brown says not out. 54 for 2 is now the score with 1 ball remaining in this over.
अच्छा अच्छा आवाज़ आ गई मैं असल में यहाँ पे पहुँचा तो मैंने कांटेक्ट किया जो मैं विकेट अंपायर
In the air down towards long on. Fielder off of the boundary and retrieves and throws it back in. They run a single, and that is the end of the over. So 55 for 2 is the score at the end of 10. So halfway through the innings, 55 runs to the total, 2 wickets down. So we may be able to see some acceleration here towards the end of this innings. Swung away deep over mid-wicket, and that goes all the way for 6. So a new bowler, and he's greeted with a huge hit over the top of mid-wicket. 6 runs, first 6 of the innings. Shams has had enough of this and is looking to accelerate. So 61 for 2 is now the score, 10.1. And Shams moves on to 25. We'll get you the name of the bowler here shortly. Alif Merida. Ball is down the leg side, overcompensating by pushing it a little bit too far down leg. Our own ground signals wide. We are now up to 62 for 2. Ball down the leg side. We'll see indication whether or not there was any bat on that. The batsman will run 2 in any event. Okay, so no signal from umpire Brown. So apparently he did get some bat on that. So 2 runs. Score moves up to 67 for 2.
So Alif continued, and was there a nick onto the bat? It's hard to tell. I had to quickly jump back on the mic because this is something where a man has no control. The wife, he asked me to give her a shout. So this is to Zenith and little Michelle. Hope you're enjoying the HPL.
I live by a very simple rule. The more women who watch cricket, the better. Particularly if they live in your house.
Absolutely. And it was
Privileged to see some ladies coming out to the dinner gala, and we know quite a few are tuned in live watching their husbands play, and we would invite you to come out to the ground. Work to good stuff from Ali Rana, dives in and stops the single, and I think they could have sneaked an overthrow, but they're just playing by the notions of the game, playing it safe. And that's the way to go, because Jermaine came in and he really stemmed the flow of runs and gave them two major jolts. So they've recovered well. Alif continues, and just short of length outside the off stump, he rocks back onto the back foot and works it to covers, gets a single. So they've been doing good rotating the strike, and they already picked the boundary. A new bowler came in, Shams with a big slog sweep, got 6 runs and put pressure on Alif. And they are getting those 7, 8, 9 per over after a very slow, sluggish start, and they've recovered well. So if they keep those wickets intact going into the last 5 to 6 overs, you never know, you might even pile 50 runs from there. So I think they cross that 150 mark, it's going to be surely competitive. But then again, the Knight Riders have the likes of Rizwan Cheema, who can, he can mammoth any boundary whatsoever. So if he gets going, no total is good on this pitch.
Well, when we spoke before the match started, we were of the opinion that 140, 150 is probably realistic, probably par. So 150, I think, would be a decent total to set from here. But as you said, the firepower of the side that is now featuring people such as Rizwan Cheema cannot be overstated.
So Majid Rizvi, the captain himself comes on to bowl. And we have an interesting guest. I think the Houston Premier League tends to reach out to all people in Houston, and we tend to attract a lot of people to come and watch cricket. So a person just walked up to me. He's come down from Australia, and he is an umpire in the leagues over there. And his name is Fawad. So I would like to call Fawad into the commentary box and just ask his story. How did he, come up to us, and what's going on in sunny Australia at this time of the year? Your team is looking pretty strong for the World Cup title right now, Fawad.
Thanks, Majid. I was here to visit my family, and I never realized that cricket has become so huge in this part of the world. It's amazing. Like at the moment, we've got off season in Australia, and so when I was just going through Facebook, made a few friends around, and then realized that that it's so big. So luckily, my brother had a day off, so I asked him to bring me over here. And looking at the standard of cricket, it's pretty good. I'm actually more, looking at the umpires, how the body language is working and all that. Our vision is different to you guys, like you watching the game, and I'm actually watching the umpire. So,
So Fawad, that's an interesting story that you came down for your vacation. You go on Facebook and you see the Houston Premier League is going on. What's the word coming from, out of the country, coming here? You just said that you weren't really expecting something of this magnitude, but coming from Australia, one of the prime test playing nations, have you been impressed with what you're seeing so far?
No, exactly. It's the standard. I wasn't, to be honest, I wasn't expecting such a huge, standard in here. Because I thought it's not a playing, no disrespect, but I thought, it's not a, I mean, it's close to West Indies, so, there might be some influence, but wasn't expecting such a, high standard, to be honest. And good to see. I'm still searching, trying to find out, how many teams are playing and what sort of competition is here. But as I said, as soon as I knew, I asked my brother to bring me down over here and have a look. And I'm quite impressed. And I actually contacted the umpires. There's an Umpire Association of America, so had a contact in, he's in Washington. Apparently I have been invited to do a presentation for technique on umpires and all that in a couple of weeks' time in North Carolina. So yeah, Charlotte, yeah. So I'm just and they advised me, like, you know, there are a few people around, so that's why I came and asked you know, Munir about, you know, if Sahi Bhai. I've heard a lot of his name, you know, from different circles.
All the way in Australia, he's
yeah. I actually met him, and like we're friends on Facebook. So yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So
I know when I just was walking by you and you were standing in the parking lot, the first thing I noticed is your polo jersey, which is Cricket Australia Umpires officially embroidered logo. So tell us about your endeavors in that part of the world, and how are you involved in umpiring assignments in cricket in general over there?
Yeah, I mean, people might think I'm crazy, but I had an opportunity to either come to my brother and live in America, or go to somewhere, you know, there's cricket, and I did refuse my brother that, you know, I won't come to America, you guys don't play cricket, so...
Let me pause you right there. You regret the decision right now?
No, I wouldn't say that, because, yeah, life's yeah.
you
Get short, great shot.
So forward, Cricket Australia has actually had a major part to play in these parts for a very long time. The former CEO of USA Cricket, and that's a great hit through California for four. Former CEO of US Cricket, Darren Beasley, is from Australia, and he's now living in Perth. He's now the head of Swimming Western Australia.
Right, okay.
He's been to this ground several times. He was very instrumental when this ground was being built 4 or 5 years ago. The current management of US Cricket has a very heavy Australian influence. Wade Edwards is one of the chief officers of cricket in the US, and he's from Australia. We rely on Cricket Australia a lot for a lot of the expertise that we've had over the years in the US cricket. So even though we're so far away, we're probably much more connected in ways that maybe many people don't realize.
Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, I was just, as I said, with the standard of cricket, and even the umpire association and the amount of training they go through. I mean, that's my area of expertise. So, you know, going through their stuff, they're doing like online stuff and all that for the umpires to be on the sort of same level across America. So, yeah, I mean, I would be more than happy to, you know, as I said, I'm actually going for that presentation just to help out the umpires, you know, just to do the basic. The technique on field and all that, because, you know, it's a really important part of the game. So the better the umpiring standard, the better the game of cricket would be. So yeah, it's the spinner is quite yeah, I think so yeah, no, I mean, I'm here for another, like, you know, 5-6 more weeks. So if there'll be any opportunities, you know, helping out umpires in Houston or any part of America, would be more than glad to go and, you know, help out. And that's what Cricket Australia expects us to, you know, when we go around the world. And that is why I was wearing, not to show off, but just to, you know, show my love for the passion for the game. And it's amazing to see people, you know, so passionate about the game here. So yeah, if I can be involved with any sort of area where I can help out the on-field umpires, or even be part of any of the game and, you know, help them on-field, that'll be, you know, my pleasure.
It's really interesting to hear you say the expectation of Cricket Australia in terms of interacting with people who ordinarily would not interact with. You're the third or the fourth person I've heard from Australia say that. So I'm starting to believe that it's true. I don't know if you know who Ben Amarfio is. He's an executive with Cricket Australia. We did some work together about a couple of years ago when Cricket Australia was helping us to reform our cricket, and he was very instrumental in providing some guidance. Just on a completely different note, I was in Barbados with my son a couple of years ago after a tri-series. We're in the airport and we're getting ready to leave, and I was with my son at this time. He was 11 years old, and we saw Justin Langer. And Justin immediately started talking to my son. And my son, of course, wanted a picture with him. That's a full toss, that's hit for 4, and that may be a no ball. That's what the umpire calls. 4, and it is not a no ball. Mr. Owen Brown seems to think that that height was good. But so back to the story. Took a picture with him, and then immediately Justin Langer said, "Let me see your stance." Knew nothing at all about him. He said, "Let's see your stance." And so he was left-handed, so he got into his stance. Okay, you're going to want to square up a little bit more, and you're going to want to have your eyes. He literally gave him a full-blown batting lesson right there in the middle of the airport in Barbados. So I think that that's a really, again, you're the second person who I've heard say this, but it really does speak to Cricket Australia's mission to bring cricket to a wider audience. And even in casual interactions with people, it seems that they're always looking to push and grow the game through that technique.
No, exactly. I mean, it amazes me, like, I mean, we didn't know each other, a few minutes ago, but just, cricket, the way it connects, different people from different nationalities and,
Right.
Bring love together, make friends. That was a brilliant shot. Yep.
Six.
Over for 6, yeah. Fantastic.
So you were saying?
Yeah, so, Cricket Australia, for us, I'm just a state panel umpire, aiming to come onto the national circuit and, take it as a full-time profession. But even whether on-field or off-field, they expect us to be, we look like umpires and
Sure.
we talk umpiring language, so,
Sure.
yeah.
Where in Australia are you located?
At the moment, I've just moved to a place called Hobart, which is in a
Sure.
state called Tasmania.
You in Hobart?
But my umpiring 12 years ago started in Sydney, New South Wales is the state.
Sure.
So I've spent 8 seasons there umpiring in different competitions.
Sure.
So umpire Owen just signaled one short. So so I've just moved to Tasmania. There were more opportunities for umpires down there. It's
Sure.
it's a colder part of Australia where weather can be extreme at times.
Sure.
But no, having good time. I've spent actually 4 seasons down there now, and I've just as I said, I concluded my season over there and then came to America to have a bit of relaxation before the season starts again back
Sure.
in September.
Sure.
So yeah.
So in Tasmania, I tried to think of any prominent Australians who would be from Ricky Ponting, David Boone.
David Boone? Yeah, exactly.
Okay. See, you can tell the difference in age between you and me. My default is David Boone.
Yeah, Booney the Great, yeah. He's,
Who else? What other big names are from Tasmania?
Xavier Doherty, Tim Payne, the current
Okay.
cricket, the Test captain.
Sure.
He's from Tasmania.
Okay.
So there's quite a heritage there in Tassie, and it's a small place, but the standard of cricket is good, and it's they've got a strong state team. If you follow Big Bash, then they've got a Hobart Hurricanes,
Okay.
who do pretty well in the Big Bashes
Sure.
lately. So a good structure there.
Got so involved in talking Australian cricket, we forgot there's a game going on right here. So at the end of 13 overs, the score was 82 for 2. We will get an update on the current score shortly.
I didn't mean to do that. I was just sitting in the back. Just I thought I'll let you guys do your job. Then don't want to take your attention through the out of the game.
It's always exciting to those of us who are involved in cricket in the US to have somebody who is from another cricket playing country visit and give their thoughts. So it's extremely, extremely important. I'm from the West Indies. I'm from Jamaica originally. Moved to this country 37 years ago.
Wow.
I'm not even sure you were born 37 years ago. But when I moved here, there was very little cricket. You certainly would not have been able to find a facility like this anywhere. Basically, it was people who would find an open field somewhere and put a matting down and try to play cricket. The standard of cricket has increased so much in the last few years. I say few years, probably steadily over the last 15 or so years, it's been getting better and better. We had some administrative issues over the years. I think those have pretty much been mitigated at this point. And more than anything else now, we're just looking to provide a platform, not only for adults who grew up playing cricket, but for kids who have never played cricket before to get that experience. If you'll see the fielder who is at backward point right now, the one who's walking right there, he's a young man, he may be 14 or so, but there's a very, skied, huge, how far is this going? Oh, lands in front. But to the point I was just making, the organizers of this tournament made a very specific request that every playing 11 has at least one member of the U19 team in the lineup.
Right on.
So it is the best way, I think, to be able to integrate kids into the setup and to, number one, put them under a little bit of pressure, give them the understanding of what it's like to play in a high stakes game. But number two, provide a platform for them to know that, you know what, keep doing what you're doing. Pretty soon you'll be able to put yourself in the running to have a spot on the national squad. Lofted down, too easily taken there by Rizwan Chima, long on. Sham's long innings comes to an end. He's out for, I believe, about 39, but we'll verify that in a second. The third wicket down, in the 15th over, we are going to give you the score in a minute. So just to give you some background also on the makeup of the squads. The squad that is in the field has a few players who played a pretty high level of cricket. Rizwan Chima, the one who just took the catch, is probably Canada's best player. Absolutely destructive batsman. Majid Rizvi, who's the captain, one who's bowling from this end, is also a huge hitter. There are a couple of players around who, Jermaine Levine, number 15, is from Nevis and he played U19 in the West Indies. A couple of other players who I'm not completely familiar with, but I know played a pretty high level of cricket in Pakistan.
Okay.
So there's a fair amount of really, really talented players around. The team that is the batting side, the Stallions, long story short, another team dropped out of the tournament and this team was just assembled. Captain Ahmed Butt was gracious enough to leave one of the other squads and volunteered to come over and captain this team, and we assembled players from Dallas, from Austin, where I'm from, which is about 200 miles away, and just getting enough people in to be able to make sure that these guys at least get a good run. Jermaine Levine now bowling his last over. This ball is punched into the outfield, just a single though. Current score 98 for 2. Let's get the scorecard. It has to be around because a couple of people have been out and I've still seen the same thing too.
Is it okay? Doing a great job. I actually saw you in the morning before coming in here. I thought there was a live training happening, so I saw you.
Okay.
When he was having an interview with you,
Sure,
or
sure, sure.
vice versa.
Right.
We've got some passionate people around, so I better go and check this out.
That's wonderful. But Jermaine Levine continuing. Left arm now over the wicket. Huge swing outside off stump. Jermaine appealing, keeper's not really interested. Owen Brown says not out. Jermaine ends a very economical spell. We'll get you his exact numbers in a minute, but he has been the one primarily responsible for pulling things back. 2 wickets, 4 very tight overs. Well done from the big man. So back to Australia for a minute. I don't know if you know the name Tim Anderson.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
Tim was with the ICC for a number of years. He was the global development manager.
Okay, yeah.
He's definitely Australian. I believe he's from Adelaide. Worked together with him. Long story short, I used to be involved at the national level as well.
Right,
So, Tim is probably the one person most responsible for U.S. cricket being where it is today. And we have a lot to be thankful for. Ooh, this ball gets by outside off stump. We'll see whether or not umpire Altaf gives this as buys or if there was any edge involved. No signal, so it appears to have been an under edge. Couple of runs to the batsman, Sushant. Check that, just one run, and the batsman is now new to the crease, Waka Samid. Bowler Jawad Khalid. Starting his spell for the first time, and now Wakas will be facing Jawad. Down the leg side, a wide signal by umpire Altaf. That was actually very well kept by the keeper. Moving right across, of course, taking it down the leg side, he would have been momentarily blinded. And Jawad is actually quicker than he looks. Very well kept. Full toss, ball trickles into the square leg position. The keeper was very active, cleans up anything within 5 or 10 yards of the batsman. Single, total is now 105 for 3. So you mentioned earlier that there was, while the rest of us are watching the action and following the ball, you're not following the ball at all, are you?
Yeah, I'm just actually looking at the routine by both umpires. A lot goes on between, we call it the silent commentary between the two balls. Even nothing might happen on a single delivery, but communication, the eye contact is pretty important between the two umpires. So just in case, if there's a buy or something, so square leg, whatever they have heard, they can actually indicate that via some sort of a signal to their bowlers and umpire, just to give help him out, because sometimes it's quite hard, because of the sound, or there might be no deviation, no sound. But I think square leg has got a better sort of they might be able to hear something, so they can, as soon as we hear anything, we can actually try to help our mate out with some sort of a signal. So that's what is discussed prior to the game between the two umpires, that how we can make this day successful. So each and every ball is important, and with this T20 format, like the players, they have to perform in a short time. Like a bowler has got only 4 overs to do its best. And the same with batsmen, 11 overs. We have got a lot of things to manage so that the game goes smoothly, and we try to. That was a great shot. Okay, unfortunately, there's a fielder out there. Yeah. Sorry.
So, several years ago, there was an umpire actually who came over from Australia to put a clinic on. His name is Mark Pryor. And Mark made the point, and this was 15 years or so ago, but it stuck with me all this time, that when there's a cricket match going on, there are not 2 teams that are playing. There are 3 teams. So, in our level of cricket, where you don't always have 2 neutral umpires, and you might have one assigned umpire, and then the square leg umpire would just be a member of the batting side. Sometimes it's almost like a punishment that they go out there and they serve their 5 overs and they come back. But when I'm a standing umpire, the very first conversation that I always have with the square leg umpire is that right now you are no longer a member of the batting side. For the length of time that you're on this field, you and I are a team. So in between overs, I don't want to see you coaching the other teams. I don't want to hear you saying good shots, because at the time that you are on this field as an umpire, you are a teammate of the umpire that is at the bowling end. So I think it's just simply a mindset that needs to be remembered, and obviously that would not be a concern with a tournament of this magnitude, but at the lower levels of cricket, where again square leg umpiring duties might be seen as a punishment, it's still important to know that it's a really, really important position.
No, certainly, can't agree more with you on this. And I've never been in that sort of situation since I've started umpiring, but I can imagine, I mean, if you give a close stumping or. Yeah.
So the fourth wicket goes down. We're looking to accelerate here are the Stallions. We're in the 15th over. 108 for 3 was the score before that, but we're now 4 down, and very clean catch taken there, about 3 yards off of the line of the boundary. And just when the Stallions are looking to accelerate, they lose just another wicket. So you were saying?
Yeah, no, so, umpiring is like for a player to go and stand at square leg. Yeah, I can just imagine it's quite hard if you give a tight stumping or run out, then you'll be get bashed by your teammates. So yeah, but I just the little things I'm actually watching. For example, now just the pace of play as soon as the batsman gets out, then the new batter comes in. Both umpires had a quick chat, and then as soon as the batsman walked onto the square, they moved on just to keep the pace of the game going. That's quite impressive. These are the little things which players might not notice, but we actually get trained on doing that so that we keep the pace running smoothly and flawlessly. The other thing which has impressed me is the way you have been pronouncing all the names spot on. With the subcontinent names especially. That has just amazed me.
That is really interesting that you pointed that out. Regardless of where somebody is from, I've always tried to make the effort to pronounce their name the way that they would want to have it pronounced. My name is Brian. People sometimes, the cricket circles will call me Biren or something like that. No, my name is Brian.
Brian, yeah.
At the same time, if your name is Biren, I want to call you Biren. I don't want to call you Brian. I don't want to call you B. So it seems like something relatively simple, but I think it honors somebody by calling them their name the way that they'd like for it to be pronounced.
Correct, yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if there are any Sri Lankan players and how you pronounce their surnames.
Then I might need to go to the initials. I'm sorry. Reverse sweep. First reverse sweep of the day. This time it's unfortunately unsuccessful. Trickles at the short third man. New batsman, and I'll let you know who that person is in just a minute, but he's looking to accelerate. Ball staying a little bit low on this occasion. Ooh, due for stumping. Umpire Altaf says no, not out. That's the end of the over, and we'll give you an updated score and overs here in just a minute.
I'm good at that. Brian, to bring the standard to this level, I mean, I can just imagine how much hard work you guys have done behind the scenes. And otherwise, this doesn't happen overnight,
Beautiful hit over the top of mid-off, and it goes all the way to the boundary, I believe, for 4 runs. I believe that was Wakas. Wakas is now up to 6, and the overall score after 17 overs, we're 110 for 4. 110 for 4. Yes, so as you were saying, this doesn't happen by accident. There's a tremendous amount of work that goes in. I'm preaching to the choir here because I'm sure you know this, but just kudos to all the volunteers and everyone else who's put in so much effort to make this tournament the way that it is so far. So Waka's looking to accelerate. We're only 18 balls, or at this point 16 balls shy of the end of the innings. 110 runs on the board, and we were talking before that we thought that the first inning score would be somewhere around 140, 150. They'll have to do some accelerating to get that far at this point. So with 6 wickets in the hutch, I think we'll start seeing the batsmen take a few more chances than they ordinarily would. Bang! This one goes a long way, sails over the head of Jermaine Levine at Cow Corner, 6 runs. Good clean hit there by Hassan. Jawad Khalid, who's played a lot of cricket throughout Texas, lived in Austin for a while, now is in Houston, played in Dallas also, very experienced cricketer. But now questions are being asked of him, and this ball is chipped to mid-wicket, sliding stop there, cannot prevent a single by Rizwan Shima. Score up to 117 for 4. I remain open to being corrected on that score, but I believe that's approximately what the score is at this point. So one thing that's synonymous with Houston is the weather. Sticky weather is the order of the day in this part of the country at this time of the year. Temperature-wise, this is actually cool for this time of the year because we're usually somewhere around 95, sunshine blasting down. It's one of the reasons why I'm happy I retired from playing cricket in this part of the country a long time ago, because it is truly, truly difficult.
Yeah, I've experienced a few days since I've been here, which have been quite hot and humid. So yeah, I can imagine how it would be on a typical Houston day, this weather. So yeah. Since I've moved to Hobart, as I was saying earlier, sometimes temperature is like centigrade would be like around 4 or something. When we umpire, so. Our hands are freezing, we have to keep the hand warmers in our hand so that when it's an appeal and we have to put our finger out, we are able to put our finger up, Exactly,
So the end of 18 rather, score 123 for 4, 123 for 4. So 2 overs remaining, 123 for 4. How many runs will we end up with here? We'll think that the Stallions will be looking for at least 10 runs in the next 2 overs, in each of the next 2 overs. So can they get to 145, 150? Ayub Tanvir skies one in the air, wallet, diving stop, he does not get it, now he can't find it. At the end of the day, they get 1 run. Excellent efforts there by the fielder, running in from the long on boundary. Yeah. So 125 for 4. Ayub. Another skied ball. This one stays in the air a lot longer, and it is taken so cleanly by Rizwan Shima. Such a professional catch. Had that ball fallen, it would have fallen over the fence for 6, but Shima very calmly, very professionally takes that ball, and 5th wicket goes down. Hassan Shah disturbs the scorers for a while, but not very much. And the score is now 125 for 5. So in terms of umpire movement, there's a left-hander and a right-hander batting. And I've seen Owen do this a few times where the square leg umpire starts out at square leg for the left-hander. When there's a single or an odd number of runs, they run 40 yards to the other side. I understand professionally that that's what you'd like to do. You'd always like for the umpire to be at square leg. Do you think it's absolutely necessary?
There are 2 school of thoughts here. I've seen on elite panel, like when you watch an international game, so it's a must that umpires should move each and every delivery. There's another opportunity for a big shot. The great hit by the left-hander. That's a shot, I guess.
I haven't warmed up yet.
Yeah, what you do 6 and all that run.
Do some camera work. You guys got this covered. Very
Okay, got it. So after a huge 6 by Wakas, in which the commentator was actually called into action there to retrieve the ball that was heading perilously towards the commentating booth, we're now looking to accelerate. And we are 129, 131 for 4. So punch back towards the bowler, no run. I believe 2 balls remaining in the over, 8 balls remaining in the innings. I think 150 would be a challenging target. Let's see if we can get there. This one is skied again, and easy catch. Oh, it was supposed to be an easy catch. Dropped there at cover, and the batsman scrambled 2. Well, the batsman scrambled 1. So at the end of the over, we'll get you an updated score shortly, but I believe that's about 131 for 4 or for 5. Last over coming up. And one would think that they'll be going with all guns blazing here in the last over. So Jawad Khalid is going to be bowling the last over. 133 for 5 is the score. Waqas Ahmed on 18, and he's facing. First ball, skied, going towards long on, who's running in, dives, and he makes such an absolutely
a catch.
Fantastic catch. Fantastic catch. Full sprint off of the boundary, deep at long on. Dives forward and takes that ball a couple of inches off of the ground. Amazing catch.
Rana Ali.
Rana Ali is the person who makes Jawad Khalid feel better, number 1, because he got a wicket, but number 2, because he atoned for dropping the catch the previous ball. So we're now 133 for 6 with 5 balls remaining. Let's see what that is coming to the back.
Can't tell.
So 5 balls remaining. Score 133 for 6. After the wicket of Waqas Ahmed, the runners crossed while that ball was in the air, and so Ahmed Butt, I believe, is on strike. That's ABO.
Yeah.
Captain Ahmed Butt.
When someone is tapping his gloves and pads and looking around the field 10 times, it's always Ahmed Butt.
Even with 5 balls to go.
Even with 5 balls.
So Jawad Khalid into Ahmed. Beautiful shot, but just for a single to extra cover. 1-3-4 for 5. With 4 balls remaining. Great delivery there. Yorker length, punch down to mid-on, and they're looking to scramble 2. Oh, would have been interesting had that been a direct hit, but in the end they get there safely. 136 for 5 for 6 with 3 balls remaining.
I think you called it, Brian, in the morning. You said 140 might be
I
a par
said
score.
140, didn't I? Wow. You should listen to me more. I'll give you a lot of numbers later if you want. Single to backward point, 137 for 6. 2 balls are made. If there's a 2 and a 1 here, I think a 6-pack of beer or something should be.
No, I'll ask you if can Pakistan qualify for semi-finals.
Well, that'd be a whole different conversation. Oh, cheeky. But after all that cheekiness, they may only be able to get 1 run as Rizwan Chima immediately gets that ball back in. So 138.
So cheeky, but he knew fine leg is not inside the circle.
Yeah.
It was gonna be a single.
Sure. Yeah. So final ball of the innings, score is 138 for 5. Oh, for 6 rather. And here's the final ball. Hits straight. Mid-on takes it. They will only get 1 run, and I believe that our final score for the innings is 139.
So that's what you called 140.
I called 140.
Now that you're on the street, let's ask you: they're defending this? No. Let's put you on the spot.
You're putting me on the spot. Are they going to defend this? If I were a betting man, which I am not, my money would be on the fact that batting will be easier in the second innings than the first. It's a little bit drier now than it was earlier. I think, in fairness, there's a little bit more firepower on the side that is batting second. But, 1 or 2 quick wickets and you never know what can happen. I think at the end of the day, we're going to see a pretty exciting finish to this match.
Start business or something.
I wish.
Yeah, I spoke to him over the phone actually, and I did tell him I'll be here. So
Okay.
because it's only 10 minutes to your finish.
Probably 10.
If he's coming here, I'll
Yeah.
say that. Otherwise, I'll give him
Oh,
It's interesting, like with big guys and cricket Australia, as long as we're not stopping the game, if I know, because of the spinners and all that,
sure.
or short bowlers with a short runner, we'll stay at the same, doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah.
But I've seen on ICC level, they do expect you to large, so they get paid for that. So I
get you, regardless. Obi, that's somebody who you met.
Mohammed. Likewise, man.
Ask me before the match starts. What kind of score I think we're looking at? I said 140. 139, so. Want some pitch?
Yeah, sure, fantastic. Just grab my phone, bro.
Yeah.
So that I can take a few photos, actually.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Hey, Brand.
Yo.
Oh, it's alright. Let's go with it.
Yeah. No, I'm calling him.
Okay.
आप कितने टाइम से ये पूरा अरेंज करने की प्लानिंग कब से शुरू हुई?
इस बार तो ऑनेस्टली मैं बिल्कुल नहीं कर पाया जितना यूजुअली करता हूँ. It takes me 2-3 months to plan the HPL. इस बार वो क्विक वेस्ट करना था ना, वो इंडोर फैसिलिटी लाना फील्डिंग में.
ओके.
I was too busy with that. मतलब सभी एक दिन का काम है सर. not like the usual effort we put.
Yeah, yeah,
into
true,
it.
true, true.
It's a last moment guy.
So how are things coming up? PV ground, you know, I've heard a lot.
Yeah, it's a good facility.
Coming up facility.
काफी बार गया हूँ मैं 4-5 बार. It's pretty good.
I haven't been there, I haven't had a chance.
You should go. You should start umpiring, man. We miss you. I haven't seen you in 1 year.
Yeah, you know, my son, he was born like 2-3 months ago, so I'm busy with that. And my wife, like I was expecting, there was nobody to take care of her.
Right.
So I was the only one taking
Yeah,
care
I know,
of her.
man.
Now I have a son, you know, it's kind of hard, you know,
Yeah.
time, but I mean, I try to do as much as I can.
So this is live right now? It's live now?
The innings ended.
But it's still live.
Oh, this is still live. I thought it stopped there. There's a lot of like background noise. Anyway, I'm getting started.
This one live. Oh, you just got the live.
Actually, the mic is turned off, but not strictly sound. You have to speak soft.
So that means it's a little bit delayed then. It's a little bit delayed then.
Yeah, intentionally, like 15 seconds.
Second field at?
It's in the back.
Oh, way
So
back.
you
How do you
gotta,
get
like,
over there?
head this way and go all the way.
All the way around?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Damn stuff again. Stop 11:54. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Goes the ball?
Yeah. 139, 6.
Okay. All right.
play this song. A week, I'm traveling on the charter flight, staying in the hotel. When they explained the position to me, my first question was, "Do you think you are my pig?"
All the best, fellas. Finish well, man. Finish strong. Thank you. I'll be there.
Yep, that was just the assignment of my life. Absolute assignment of my life. And then on top of that, you go live in Austin, right? For the Houston game.
Yeah.
I had my son, my younger son, come down. And so I pulled a few strings, and in between innings, I had to interview him. So my friend Sean, who lives in Adelaide, in Sydney, called me and said, "Holy shit, is that your son I see on TV?" It's like, yep, that's him.
Unbelievable.
So much fun.
Yeah, with the groundsman, this is one of the first thing we do,
Yeah.
to any ground we go,
Yeah.
have that, relationship
Sure.
with, because, yeah, I mean, if these guys don't give us the good pitch, then,
Yeah, exactly.
and especially if it rains or whatever, so we need to work with them to see,
Right.
how much time we would need to take the covers off and put the covers back on and all that, so it helps us in managing the game well.
I can hold the scoreboard in the second innings if you want. Somebody lets me in.
Would you like to do that?
Sure, yeah.
Really?
I've done it before, yeah.
Okay. So you're not a casual cricket fan,
No,
and you actually know what's
I
going
know.
on. Okay,
I have the website.
Really? You know what? I may get them to do that here in a second. I'm nobody in leadership or management,
Okay,
but
okay.
If I get somebody who's
I figured
able to
you
do it. I just look the part.
So my brother, Saj. Right?
Saj.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Very good to
He doesn't
meet you,
like
thank
cricket
you.
at all.
You don't like cricket? What the hell is wrong with you? Okay, so let me get the juxtaposition. I'm in America who has the freaking cricket app and he's scoring along, and you're from Pakistan and you don't like cricket.
Oh, man.
His brother umpires cricket and he supports me.
And on the top,
He brings me here to the cricket, but
What the hell? You know what? Don't say anything else to me. I don't want to talk to you about it. I would really love to have real time scoring here. Because it's still showing the scorecard for me. Yeah. I have no idea who. Hey, Munir, can you see who those are?
I think it's Rizwan Chima and Rana Ali
Okay.
batting,
Yeah.
and the bowler should be Rizwan Chima is on strike.
Okay.
like Hassan, but you won't be taking much time to Who? The Afghan mother.
Ahmed.
Ahmed, Bhai, sorry.
Okay, so we're back and about to resume play. Excitement will be starting here very, very shortly. Rizwan Chima, the behemoth from Canada, is taking strike. His partner is
Rana Ali.
Rana Ali. Let's see if I can get this thing to finally work. And here we go. Bang! First ball, 6. Over the top of extra cover. Over the top of mid-off. He didn't take much time playing himself in, Rizwan Chima.
But when you had a first ball 6, there's usually a loud cheer. This was almost a subdued response. That's Rizwan Chima. Nobody almost reacted.
In fairness, this was a short ball outside off stump, and with mid-off in the circle, there's only one place that ball was going to go.
Does he know he's playing T20, not the T10 league?
Funny thing is, he was playing a T10 game in Florida a month ago where he hit 6 sixes in an over. I think you followed that on Facebook.
Yeah.
It was like,
Wow.
yeah, it was being shared a lot.
That's amazing. This keeps up. This innings will be finished by the 8th, the 9th over. So after one delivery, the score is 6 without loss. Chima, of course, has played a very high level of cricket. I think most of us here in this part of the world will know him from his exploits playing for Canada. Another short ball and it's pulled away massively over the top of wide, long on, 4 more runs. So 3 deliveries and 10 runs so far. I think those of us in the US will really remember him with a fair amount of negativity for his innings against the US team in North Carolina a few months ago, where he hit a 6 off of the last delivery, if I remember correctly, to tie the game, and then Canada went on to win it in the super over. Ooh, huge hit this time, but a thick under edge, and the ball trickles to fine leg for a single. So 11 runs after 4 balls.
Now that we have been enlightened.
We're actually going for 3 to go as well. That's what I've seen at times, yeah. Halfway, yeah, that's halfway. Or you do this depending on what, you know.
Never seen that.
Yeah.
Wide ball down the left side. There's going to be at least 2 runs. 1 that they ran plus the 1 wide. And there's a signal by umpire Alcoff. So 2 runs to the total. 13 without loss and 2 balls still remaining to be bowled in this over.
And the bowler is Rajesh Verma, and he also played first class in India.
Okay, so the bowler Rajesh Verma. Short and elevated over the top of the bowler's head. Bang off the side screen, 6 more runs. 19 from the over so far. Rajesh is not happy, kicks at the ground in frustration. But Rizwan Chima doing what Rizwan Chima does. One ball remaining in the over, and they've already amassed more than 1/10 of the runs needed to win this match. Over extra cover, 6 more, 25 from the first over. Amazing hitting by Rizwan Chima, and this game will be over very, very quickly if the Stallions do not solve the Chima puzzle. 25 without loss.
So,
Brian, an interesting question for you, and putting Ahmed Butt on the spot. Given that the outfield is a little wet and sluggish, and we've had overcast clouds, and we saw when the Knight Riders opened their bowling with their seamers, there was enough assistance in the wicket, and it continued that way through the entirety of 20 overs. The logic behind opening with a left-arm spinner?
You're asking a Jamaican about a spinning question. You're not going to get a good answer from me. In my mind, even if the wicket is turning square, you still open with a seamer. But you know, with Chima hitting the way that he is, I don't know that it makes a very big difference. I'd certainly want to extract whatever there would be in the pitch, and you'd expect that to be, as a seamer, you'd expect to see that in the first 4 or 6 overs. So, you know, you can certainly make the argument that let's see what a spinner could do, maybe element of surprise or something like that. But at the end of the day, 25 runs being scored off of your spinner would probably want you to start thinking about different options.
And just as we speak, he's gone with his second left-arm spinner. So I think they're making this entertaining for us. The first innings might be called a bit of a slow drag.
Sure.
So they're compensating with putting their spinners onto Rizwan Chima. Let's see what Kenjige can do now. And drifts just a bit down the leg side, hits the pad. Short fine leg comes in. No run there. Now, Kenjige was a last-minute entry into the Houston Premier League, and he is well recognized with the U.S. national team. He is their strike spinner. He has done amazingly well with them. and he comes with a huge reputation. So now that reputation would definitely be on the line. One of the premier players from USA against arguably the most substantial, the most marquee player Canada has ever produced.
Sure.
So let's see how this mouth-watering contest goes down between Chima and Kenjige. And we've got long off dropping on the boundary. And long on has come in. So Ahmed Butt has opened the invitation for Rizwan Chima. I think we've got our broadcast equipment, the cameras and the monitors, so we'll have to run for cover. Let's see how this goes. And he does not care one bit. Just licks him to deep square leg and another 6. This is getting a little brutal for the Stallions. I think they need to rethink, re-strategize. It's pretty interesting. It's baffling to me that they chose to go the route of spinners when they're defending 140. I think they needed to use the new ball and look to nick a couple of batsmen or put that pressure, bowl those hard lengths, short of good length. But yeah, they like tossing up dollies to start off with. Let's see how long this continues.
I would love to get an Australian perspective on the wisdom of opening with 2 finger spinning left-handers to a batsman who clearly loves hitting a long ball.
I'm actually thinking of just packing my bags and just leave again, just in case the ball gets hit over here. I don't want to get unfit before I leave America. Yeah, interesting. Like, you know, I mean, they opted for the spinner to start with, just to see a bit of different angle, a bit of surprise. That's a really close call, and yeah.
We will have a humble pie being served for lunch. But I think that's what he was banking on, that Rizwan goes across the line. He he didn't have a long on, so he was wanting him to not really go straight down the ground. He was inviting him to go across the line. Rizwan did that and just missed it. So you can call it luck, you can call it good thinking, but I think he has done some serious damage up front. And now this should be just about knocking the ball and getting the singles for the Knight Riders. So although it's paid off, but in his little stay of 5 to 6 balls, he has done some serious damage.
I think that's the point, because you would think 140 is not an unassailable target. You could probably just play proper cricket and get there. But if you knock off 1/8 of those runs in 1 over, then it makes things that much easier for the guys coming afterwards. So one would think that it would just be a matter of knocking the ball into the gaps from here and it being an easy victory. But again, cricket is a funny game, so we'll see what happens here. More than anything else, I think some excitement is been injected into this match, and we're enjoying watching it.
It looked like a slightly quicker delivery for the batter, and just kept the angle, and which he sort of missed, and probably hit impact between off and middle stump. Umpire Owen just, you know, thought about it, took its time, and then confidently put his finger up to give the batter out LBW. So as we're talking about the spinners, yeah, the trick has worked. So they got rid of the Dangerman. Now I'll let you do the proceeding. I don't know the name of the new batter. Sorry, apology.
Kenjige comes in. So next walks in somebody who stamps his authority, so to say, at the Moosa Cricket Stadium, his home turf, Janisar Khan. So Janisar has been involved in the US national team setup, did a couple of tours with them. So he's facing his national teammate Kenjige, and he looks pretty good, looking to knock the ball down the ground and just get a single. But yeah, Kenjige lives up to his reputation, gets the big wicket of Rizwan Chima, so even the gamble of a couple of sixes, I think they would have put their money on it to get that wicket.
Twenty 31 runs off of 2 overs means that they have 18 runs in which to score 109 runs. You could do that just about a run a ball. So it will be interesting to see what their approach is here. Are they just going to take things as they come, pick up the ones and twos? Is there any consideration for accelerating towards the end? A lot of different things that will need to be determined here, but you'll also notice that they're no longer going with a spinner at that top end, because now we're looking on the bottom end rather than southern end, because now we're looking to a pace bowler to hopefully change things up a little bit. Let's see how that works out.
And we turned up the volume. They can hear us in the ground now. So we're influencing the captains.
So my initial impression upon having seen that first ball was that this bowler has some pace, just from having seen the bounce that he got off of that ball, just short of the length. Haris Latif, definitely know that name, and he's definitely as quick as you'd find in a tournament like this. Don't know if he's bowling flat out, but when at his best, he can be really quick. Outside off stump and a little bit too far outside for the liking of the umpire.
One thing about youngster Haris Latif I remember is we had the Legacy Cup a couple of years ago. I think it was Thanksgiving 2017. The two-day test match. Houston doesn't get a lot of red ball cricket and white clothing anymore. So that was one last instance we had such a game. Beautifully bowled by Haris, attacking the stumps. Nicely played by Rana. So in the Legacy Cup, I was umpiring, and I remember a spell by Haris towards the final session of day 2, where he had a semi-old ball, and Jaskaran was the captain, Janisar, those senior players helped him maintain a ball so that he could reverse swing it. Haris to Ali. And I think it flicks the pad, a loud appeal, but there's nothing to it. Just flicks the pad on the way. So talking of that spell of Haris, it's one of the finest spells of swing bowling at quality pace I've seen a bowler bowl in the Houston Cricket League. So this youngster packs a punch, he's got a lot of talent, and he's extremely skillful too. Has a peculiar action, you can spot him from a distance, and he has his own style and run-up, but extremely effective in the way he does things. So Haris comes back in to bowl to Rana Ali. And there you can see the kind of action he has, extended arm, a bit open-chested. He really angles everything into the right-hander, and that's what's going on with Rana. He really cramps him every single ball. So Fawad, what do you think about Haris?
Yeah, he's got a nice action, and he's bowled a couple of good quick deliveries. He's coming back on to bowl the 5th delivery, I guess. And that was a straight drive. Rather better. And actually there's one more delivery to come. You know, as you said, the strategy to bring the spinners on has actually worked and really paid off. And they got rid of the danger man. And they kept his fast bowler for the third over. So let's see if he can get them a second wicket now. And there we go, as we spoke, yeah, he got a cotton bowled, it was a straighter delivery and probably didn't middle it.
You jinxed it for him, man. You called it. Rana was looking really solid, but that wicket goes to the umpire. Jinx of the umpire.
So that was the second wicket lost. Rana was the batter? Yeah. So Ranali got out on 1. There was a Haris got him cotton bowled, on the last delivery of the third over. And the new batter is just heading to the square. And his name is... Just checking the name of the striker. Actually, the new batter will be on the non-striker's end because that was the last delivery of the over, and the batter got out caught in bold.
So as you can see, his jersey reads Johnson Charles, who obviously couldn't come down. My guess is that this player is Sushant, who has just flown in last night, and he has represented India under 23 and under 25 level for even played Mumbai first class. And in fact, Sushant is, my mistake, Sushant is a part of the Stallions. The batsman now is Swapnil Salve, as you can see in the scorecard on your live stream.
That's your influence, man.
So the thing is, although they got off a flyer, they've lost a couple of quick wickets, and this really gives the Stallions an opening into this game if they can keep things tight. And obviously there would be that pressure on the Knight Riders batsmen to now not lose any wickets. Identical innings in the first power play in the fashion that both teams lost 2 quick wickets. The only difference being the firepower of Rizwan Cheema. That really differentiates the two teams right now. So the Knight Riders have that buffer because of the start they've got. They can manage to knock the ball around, just keep wickets intact. And there's no better master at that kind of play than Janissar himself.
So back to that catch for a second. My opinion has always been one of the most difficult things in cricket is for a fast bowler to take a return catch, particularly if you're sprinting in. By the time the ball is hit, that's a brilliant drive through the offside. It's going to get close to the boundary, and probably get a couple, and that will be it. But a ball that is hit right back at you as a fast bowler, immediately after you've exerted yourself and bowled as quickly as you can, to then turn and gather, focus on the ball coming and collect it. That, in my mind, is a level of skill that's very, very difficult to match on the cricket field.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah, it was a difficult chance, but yeah, he took it cleanly. Alright, we've got another clean hit now, which is a big six by the, was it Janissar? Yeah, clean, straight hit. But yeah, I like the strategy of the fielding side that, they opted for their spinners, and rather than just, defending their total, they are just playing, to just take wickets so that, they can put pressure on the batting side. And the initial 4 overs seems like it has worked. And they didn't care even after, having a massive first over, which gone for 25 runs. They still opted for the spinners. That paid off, and then the medium pacer came and got a wicket for them. So after 4,
Give you an updated score in a second, but I think your point is exactly accurate. You're not going to restrict a team from scoring 140 runs. I don't think the final score would be 138 for 4 or for 5. So the only way realistically that the Stallions win this game is by bowling the other team out. And to that point, the only way of bowling a team out is setting aggressive fields and taking wickets. Now, it's a roll of the dice, and obviously it sort of backfired in the first over. But 2 wickets have fallen subsequently, and 2 teams are now closer together. If we had a worm, I think that would show that both teams are pulling a little closer together. In the meantime, Haris Latif again with the ball outside off stump that is given a wide by umpire Altaf. Score will be updated shortly, and we'll get that to you as soon as we have it. 37 for 2. And the magic of Mr. Munir knows no bounds. Down the leg side, and again a wide. Harris now overcompensating. The first one was given a wide outside off stump. Overcompensated by pushing this one down the leg side. Correction, the score is now 45 for 2 after officially now 4.1. Short ball, cut. Down to third man, sliding stop by fielder. Made that actually look very easy. That wasn't as easy a piece of fielding as it would have been ordinarily. He fielded it and returned it in, restricts the batsman to 1 run. Score now 46 for 2 after 4.2. Setting a slightly different field. We have a member coming into the slip cordon, and now the fielder who was deep back at square leg is coming out inside the circle, sort of to a mid-wicket position. So that leaves a huge gap, which is now being filled by the fielder going back to fine leg. So a little bit of shuffling of the field here. That ball definitely kept a little low. That was pitched short of a length, a ball that you would expect that would arrive at the batsman somewhere around waist height, kind of scooted by knee height. And he was lucky that that ball was not straight. Which brings to mind a different point. If much of your cricket, and in this country most of our cricket is played on concrete wickets with AstroTurf over it. It's a different skill level when you're being forced to play on a turf wicket. What do you think?
Yeah, spot on. Different level of cricket, and coming from my perspective, like even when it comes to umpiring, like when we stand at square leg, let's say the game starts. I'm not sure if you guys know that like the teams which do the toss, to decide whether they'll bat or ball. We umpires decide as well about which end to take. So once we do the toss, if I get to stand at square leg, it actually gives me an indication of just giving some information about what the height is like, from the other end.
Sure.
So little things like that. So we pick up just to make sure that we get things right. What amazes me, and that's something you said earlier, there was a nice drive by the batter. They all finally go for the second, but refused not to. Yeah, you said about the teams. So yeah, we've got 2 teams playing, but the third team, which we call the dark team, consists of the 2 umpires.
Sure.
And the scorers. They're part of that third team.
Sure.
And and it's interesting when people they ask me this question that why umpires make mistakes. So I often tell the players, especially, that the day you guys were going to stop dropping catches, playing bad shots, and delivering bad balls, I can guarantee you umpires will stop making mistakes. So yeah, it's amazing. Like, people don't expect umpires to make any mistake. We are humans at the end of the day.
Sure.
And sometimes, like for the batters, sorry.
Fawad, one question that always intrigues me is how the umpiring panel goes about in a league, let's say like the Houston Cricket League or any league in the country, how the umpiring panel goes about building that relationship with the player community so that you have the spirit of the game really evolving and coming through. Because a lot of times we have seen when you don't have video replays or there aren't cameras watching every single moment, players just tend to go with the flow of things. You go in, it's a fresh morning, you probably nick something, and the umpire gives you out, and there's that pressure of your buddies. You have to walk back and face them. And then, it's pretty normal, it's human instinct. I'm not putting the players on the spot, but hey, ump, I didn't nick it. What's going on with you, ump? We see a lot of those kind of things. So how do the umpires go about tackling this when, as an umpire, you know that it's pretty straightforward, and I wasn't expecting that of this player? You know, how do you come across those kind of challenges?
Yeah, I don't know where to start from now. Put on the spot now. See, the thing is, I think it's a quite important part of our game, the man management side of things.
Yes.
And you know, with experience now, depending on what sort of game you're doing and what level, but it's quite important that the umpires and the two on-field captains, you know, the both umpires actually speak to the two on-field captains of setting up the tone. So we've got a huge responsibility, but I think the people who can actually help us, you know, have that, you know, implemented properly is the captain. So the onus is on the captains. The spirit of the game actually says, or the preamble of the laws actually states that it's up to the umpires and both captains to set that tone for the game to run smoothly. So I know there are, you know, like players, you know, who do a lot of net sessions, make sure that, you know, they have a good game. The umpires are trained to make sure that, you know, we do all our homework before we arrive on the pitch. So, there was a great hit by the batter. That's 1 for 6. So yeah, we do our basics prior to coming, not physically on the ground, but mentally there. There's a mental aspect to the game, so we make sure that, you know, there's not too many thoughts running in our head. Yes, there are times when the ball is too good, you know, but what I would suggest, if umpires come to me, that, you know, if there's any element of doubt, the doubt should go to the batter. The benefit of doubt should always be given to the batter. So yeah, sometimes, you know, there are mistakes, but again, there is code of conduct in the game that the players should accept, you know, like anything, you know, like a drop catch, like a, you know, bad delivery, like a bad shot. They should accept, you know, that umpires at some point in time, the ball will be too good. But we train our best. We make sure that, you know, when we are out to the ground, we give 100%. Like you guys, you know, every ball is important. Same theory applies to us. We make sure that, you know, we make every ball successful by making the right judgment. The ball kept low this time, and the batter tried his best to bring the bat in. Otherwise, would have been interesting. Brian is quite keen to put his finger up in the air. So yeah, man management is quite important for us.
I think something that you said some time ago on Shima's LBW decision bears repeating here. And I don't remember I don't know if you remember saying it, but you said umpire Owen took his time and then gave it out. I think one of the most important things that you can do as an umpire is to not make a rash decision. Actually give yourself the opportunity to get the replay, a mental replay in your mind before you give a decision. So if it's a ball that goes down the leg side and it touches something and the keeper catches it, everybody goes up. So you have to tell yourself, did that come off the bat? Did it come off the glove? Did it come off the thigh pad of the batsman? Was it dying on the way to the keeper? Did it sound like it had a woody sound versus a more muffled sound? All of these things are things that you have to go through in your mind. And if you're, to your point, if you don't know that it was definitely off the bat or the glove, that element of doubt definitely goes to the batsman. But on the other hand, if it's wicket to wicket, pitching on middle, hitting middle halfway up,
If it's out,
you have a job to do. You give it up. So on more than one occasion, I've been umpiring, and I've given somebody out, and you know they express frustration or some way, or oh come on, that kind of thing. And then at the first break we go on, it's like yeah, I nicked that. I just didn't want to be out.
Exactly. Yeah. It's quite interesting what you said about, you know, the decision-making process. There's a thought process, and as we saw earlier, umpire Owen just took his time, make sure, you know, because there are quite a few things he need to be convinced before he can put his finger up. So that giving a decision, you know, we always get trained of making sure that we sell our decision to best of our ability. Oh, that was Good delivery by the bowler. Yeah, so even if it's the simplest of the decision where, as you said, the ball is hitting middle of the middle and there's no bat involved, and it's, in my opinion, or the umpire's opinion, it's a decision which has been given out, we always make sure we take the same amount of time just to give an impression to the players, to the audience, to spectators that we have thought about it, even though it was the simplest decision. So you're taking that time, like, it can be 3 seconds or 4 seconds, whatever, but the consistency is pretty important. So when we make a decision, we don't try to rush, otherwise we give an impression that we didn't think about it. Or if we take too long, then people might think that there was an element of doubt, but we did still give it out. So yeah, it's a fine line. So decision making, as we said, we might not get every decision right, but we try to make the decision, sell the decision with the best of our ability by taking the same amount of time, thinking about going through the whole process, and got a certain routine which we need to go through before putting a finger up. It's not like we put it like, let's he has been there for quite a long time, just yeah. So yeah.
That's a great point about selling the decision. And in my mind, selling the decision has a lot to do with your body language as an umpire. So you can either stand there and sheepishly halfway put your finger up and look to the side, or you can think about it convincingly, 3 or 4 seconds. You're confident that you make your right decision, raise your finger high in the air with your head focused towards the batsman. In my mind, that actually enhances your management of the game, because it shows the players that you are confident in what you're doing and you're not going to be bullied one way or the other. If it's out, you're going to give it out. If it's not out, you're not going to give it out. But more than anything else, you're maintaining control of the game.
Spot on. As you said about the body language and the confidence, I think that's just the paramount. So for example, when we start the game and we use the word play, now it is such an important phrase to use. So if an umpire goes and just sheepishly says, play, then it gives an impression that, he's probably not confident. But if I say loud and clearly, it just gives an impression to the players that, oh, he knows his business, he knows what he's doing. So all these little things, like, coming at the toss. So if I just go and say, hello, mate, or, g'day, if I know that, if I've done my homework, I know who the captains are, and go and say, hello to, and take the name of the it just gives an impression that, this guy's has done, he knows me, and, things like that. So he's done his homework. So all these little things, built up that confidence in an umpire. And once we have prepared well, the performance, we are able to execute, the performance on the day and come across as someone who's, making a decision with confidence, with a positive body language, looking at the eye of the batter, not just putting his finger up and, sheepishly looking here and there. So all these little things, count before make a good decision on the day. So.
Yeah, that's a pretty good discussion, and I think it puts a lot of things into context, and especially getting opinion from Fawad from a different part of the world, because I don't know if that's an issue elsewhere too, but we tend to get very constrained within our Houston bubble, and we want to run things a certain way. But it's good to know what's going on across the world in different leagues and what perspective you bring onto the table. So it's been an interesting day. First, me and Brian opened shop. We opened the cash register and we had bits of sales here and there. Then Fawad walked in as our first customer, made things interesting just a little bit. And now I was just chatting up with this gentleman who just walked in. And Tim Lowell, he tends to work with the Clear Lake Youth Cricket Academy. And he had some very interesting stories to share. And we thought that's something we need to bring on the mic and have you all listen to. So, Tim, first question is that you're working with the Clear Lake Youth Cricket Club, and you are a person of American descent.
That's great.
And you're not from any of the countries who primarily play cricket. So obviously the first question, and this is the breakthrough that the entire US cricket community stumbles on, is how do we get the Native Americans who are, primarily, they tend to lean toward different sports.
Right.
And we are just trying to promote cricket and make it prime time. So what was the bits and pieces about cricket that attracted you? And now you're a coach with the Clear Lake Cricket Academy. First you learned the game, and now you're teaching it to youngsters. So that's quite a story. So let's hear, how you came into cricket.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. So I first even thought about cricket. I mean, you know, I'm 52 years old. Never really even thought about cricket until 10 years ago. It was just one of those things that's out there floating in the ether. You hear about, you know, there was some jokes with Seinfeld where he did that commercial where he, you know,
that was a wicked googly.
Yeah, it was a wicked googly. And, you know, it was just kind of floating out there, and I never really thought about it at all.
Yeah.
And then I was listening to the Bugle podcast, which used to be with John Oliver and Andy Zaltzman. Of course, Andy Zaltzman is a very well-known cricket person.
Okay.
Works for the BBC. He does all their stats. He's on their test match special during the World Cup now, and he's the stats guy.
Okay.
And he's also a comedian. So he and John Oliver, who's obviously a famous comedian,
Sure.
they did this podcast for a while together. And it was about 2010. It was during the Ashes, which I didn't even know what was going on at that time. And so he and John were doing the podcast. And in the middle of the podcast, John would throw to Andy to say something, and Andy wasn't paying attention because he was watching the Ashes.
Right. Yeah.
And so I thought, man, you know, Andy's a professional. He's a comedian. You know, he knows what he's doing, and he can't even pay attention to his own podcast because he's watching this thing called the Ashes.
Yeah.
So I said, I have to figure out what this is because seems like it must be pretty engrossing, whatever it is. So I got on some website, I don't even remember where it was, YouTube or something, and started watching the Ashes, wherever they were at the time. I think it might have been the second or third test match. I'm not sure which one it was, but I started watching it from that point on, and then it just for some reason it just spoke to me. I don't know what it was. You know, I grew up on baseball. I played baseball all the way through high school, and I even tried out for my college team and didn't make it, but. So, you know, and my father was a huge baseball fan. He was a semi-pro pitcher.
Okay.
So, you know, it was just, I've been following baseball since I was, you know, as far as I can remember.
Sure.
And something about the cricket I don't know exactly how to put it, but just, you know, it's a bat and ball game. So you have that similarity. You've got, you know, outs, you've got runs. I mean, I like the way the stadiums are laid out. You know, it's a lot of grass. It's really nice. I mean, when you go to a baseball stadium, that's one of the first thing you come through the concourse and you go into your seat, and there's this big expanse of grass, and it's just amazing. You know, so that really, I saw that on TV, and I was like, well, this is pretty interesting. And then I started picking up. You know, I'm an engineer, so loud appeal, but nothing there.
And you commentate. I like
So anyway, you know, I'm an engineer, so just the sheer amount of numbers involved in cricket is just amazing to me. You're constantly, you know, the score is ticking up. You've got the wickets, you've got the run rate, you've got the net run rate, you've got, you know, the required run rate. It's just on, and then you got the worm and then the Manhattan, and it's just all these charts and graphs flying up on the screen. It's just, for an engineer, it's like nirvana. It's just to watch, just to sit there and watch all this stuff, and it, you know, so my baseball background, my engineering background, just comes in perfectly with cricket. So I think that's how I got to that point. And then once I got into it, you know, it's like anything else. Once you get into something, you just want to keep doing it. And so I eventually got Willow, subscribed to Willow, and you know, I've been doing that for at least 5 years now.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now. So I don't want to go on too much more, but I'll wait for the next question. Here you go.
Well, I mean, definitely a fun story, and yeah, I mean, as you said, that to a lot of locals, cricket is either a bug or a mobile service.
Yeah.
And you know, you took it to the next level, so that's amazing to hear. And like you said, that being introduced from just possibly a live broadcast of the Ashes to all the way being a local coach, and that's beautifully pulled. And I think it goes all the way for 4. No, they get a couple of runs. So the bowler was trying a short ball, and the batsman was right on top of it. So from just, you know, now coaching locally in these games, you were also telling me that you recently traveled to the UK to watch the Cricket World Cup.
Yes.
So how was that experience, and were they surprised that, you're from an American sporting background and you've come to the UK to watch the Cricket World Cup when you met local fans over there?
That part of it wasn't. They weren't very surprised, really. I mean, I think they were. It's a world sport, and they were kind of maybe a little bit surprised that there was an American, but there was an open bar where I was, so they were mostly concerned with that. I met a gentleman there who helped to build the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That was his job. Yeah. I guess he said he was the owner or manager of the company. So he gave me his card and everything. He wants to build some stadiums over here. So that was as far as getting there. I had never been to the UK. I'd been to New Zealand. We went to New Zealand on vacation last year. Didn't see any cricket because nothing was happening at that particular moment.
Sure.
But we went to so I bought these tickets back in September. And to get my wife to go, the only way was we had to get the hospitality suite.
Okay.
So I looked around, and obviously the games featuring England or Australia or India, the hospitality suites were, a hot commodity. Not really easy to get, or even if I could get them, would I want to try to afford them? So I looked around for some other places, and I noticed that Afghanistan was playing South Africa in Cardiff.
Okay.
And Cardiff's sort of out of the way, and of course those two teams were not necessarily favorites for the World Cup.
Sure.
And so at the time, South Africa, I knew going, from other World Cups that they tend to start strong and finish poorly. we won't say the word that we hear. We won't say the word that we hear on the internet sometimes, but they tend to finish poorly. So I thought, early in the tournament they might be still playing well, and then of course Afghanistan's a Cinderella story. They got there barely, and then they've got Rashid Khan, who's a great spin bowler, and I enjoy watching him on every T20 tournament that I watch. So he's one of my favorite players. Just a real interesting story there, and so that kind of worked out. I figured, I knew South Africa had Dale Steyn at that point. He was still going to play. Turned out he didn't play. But, so I picked that game, and we got the hospitality suite, and they sent us the thing, and it was, you get lunch, and then you get open bar all day long, and then tea at the innings break, and then savories.
Sure.
We didn't even know what that was. So yeah, that was fun. So we saw that, we were really excited, and we flew over there to go through Newark actually, and so we get over there, and boy, the immigration is fantastic over there.
Oh, yeah.
Really easy to get through. So we took the train out to Cardiff the night before the game, and then we went to the game, and it was, of course, we were watching the weather all the way from like a week before because there'd been several games rained out, and we were like, oh boy, I hope we at least get some food out of this. So we went to the game, and there wasn't much of a game, unfortunately, but I just wanted to be there. I didn't really care what happened. I just was enjoying, as long as the game was being played and it wasn't raining, I was like, I'm happy. And so we went to the hospitality suite, and we met all those guys at our table and everything, and that was very nice. Here comes the ball right at us. That's a big 6. Okay. Yeah, so anyway, go ahead.
Just to divert from our World Cup cricket and American cricket conversation to the game that's going on in front of us. The score is now 70 for 2 after 9.1 overs. 70 for 2. So a couple of things have occurred to me while you were talking. Number one, your level of cricket knowledge is deeper than many cricket people. And that's not an easy thing to accomplish. Number two, the extent to which you have embraced the sport that you did not grow up with, I think is testament to how much passion that you have for it. So maybe I would like to ask a question. Where does that passion come from? How was it possible let me preface my question by saying this. It was really easy for me to get the passion. My father is probably one of the top 5 cricket fans in the world, and I'm not exaggerating. Right now, he's probably at home and he's watching a replay of the match that he watched 12 hours ago. But the passion, I was born with it. It was in my house. It was always there. And this is a very high ball. It may not go for 6, or yes, it does. Okay, big hit. Okay, so now we're looking to accelerate. We're now at 76 for 2, I believe, after 9.2. But the passion was born with me, and it was in my family. It was not organically in your family. So where did that passion come from?
That's a good question. I don't really know. It's just an inexplicable thing where as soon as I watched the game and actually sat down and understood it, I think that was the big thing. Was I knew what it was for a long time. I knew there was a sport called cricket.
Sure.
But once I actually watched it, and I was like, this is incredible. This is like the most amazing sport I've ever seen. And again, with my math brain, all the numbers, the statistics really jumped out at me initially. And I don't really know exactly what it is about it. I don't really know. That's a really good question. Why I just had to get into it for some reason. Yeah, it just was. I guess the big thing was I found out that 2.5 billion people follow it. And I was like, well, you know, that's probably something I should be involved with.
Something you should at least know.
Because I love all sports. I will watch any sport that comes on TV. I mean, men, women, any country, anything. I'll watch anything. And so, yeah.
So, Howard, you wanted to say something earlier.
Yeah, no. First of all, you said about the smooth immigration process. Well, I can't say that. I need a separate session because, born in Pakistan and traveling on an Australian passport and coming to US, that's an interesting experience I had. All the time I come to America, but that's a separate discussion. There's a question, and because, I've always thought about it, but never got an opportunity, and I think today is the perfect opportunity because you're someone who's born in here, an American origin, and loves this game of cricket, and, knows it really well. I can't ask this question, to Brian or Munir because, there might be a biased answer because of, their passion for the game. So someone, with, that sort of, background, how would you differentiate between a typical baseball game to a T20 game? What would you think, if you have to pick between the two, knowing both of the game really well, what's your take on that?
Well, with baseball, first of all, I have a favorite team. So, I've had one growing up, the New York Mets, and that was my dad's team. And I recently decided the Mets are not going anywhere.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah, they are. A dumpster fire would be very generous. So I rooted for the Astros in the past because I lived here from 92 to 98, and rooted for the Astros because at that point there was no internet, so you just rooted for the team that was close by.
Sure.
I went back to the Mets in about 2006 when MLB TV came out, and so then again I gave up. I just couldn't do it anymore, and I'm back to the Astros, who are now have a 7-game lead, so that's nice. So anyway, with baseball, I always have a favorite team. So it's like I know the players really well. I play in a fantasy league that's called Stratomatic Baseball. There's a board. Yeah. So Stratomatic Baseball, I started playing when I was like 9 years old, and it's a card and dice game originally, and then it became a computer game. And so I know guys that no one's ever heard of,
Yeah.
So I know minor leaguers.
Sure.
Because we have our league, we draft anybody. We can draft anybody, and so I know all these minor leaguers that no one's ever heard of. So it's a different kind of an atmosphere for me. Like if you were to ask me who are the up and coming players for India, the under 19s area. I wouldn't have any idea. So I don't really have a favorite team in cricket. I kind of glommed onto the England team because that's my ancestry. But they're always kind of disappointing.
So, in talking about baseball and cricket, obviously the two sports are very closely related. Some of the skill sets are transferable. You may not know this, so the Stallions are being coached by Kuldeep Patel. Kuldeep I've known him as long as I played cricket in Houston, which is probably a quarter of a century. His son, Karen, obviously grew up in his family playing cricket, but also showed a penchant for playing baseball. Karen went to school on a baseball scholarship as a pitcher. Karen, last month, was drafted by the Chicago White Sox. So a player who grew up playing in the Houston Cricket League is now a professional baseball pitcher. And he's one of the few people who is as comfortable on a cricket field as he is on a baseball field. So obviously, when he's playing cricket here, he'll be on the, you'll have him at mid-wicket or somewhere. Just a flick of the wrist and the ball goes from here to the keeper. It is absolutely amazing. When he pitches, he regularly pitches in the 90s, so 94, 95 miles an hour. Really talented young man, and Kuldeep, obviously, as his father, is very proud of him. But those of us who've been around Houston for a long time and in the Houston community of cricket are equally proud of him. He's just done a really, really fantastic job. So again, back to the game that we're watching, which is the reason why we're actually supposed to be here. 86 for 2 after 11, and Captain Ahmed Butt is bowling, and he absolutely gives a full toss that is treated with real disdain. 6 runs over the top of mid-wicket, and unfortunately we're going to need to get a ball.
Yeah, into the neighbor's yard.
Getting a ball from something?
Winner! Oh, you have it brand new? This ball is what? 11 overs old, so you need a replacement.
Let me run through my car or something.
Where's the ball from the first inning, do you still have it?
They should have it.
Hey, you have the ball from the first innings? All we have is new ones now. What's up? Looking at it from 50 yards away, it looks fine.
No, good ball because you can't use it.
Oh no, of course not.
Exactly.
11 overs on a field that's wet, that's a completely different ball. So back 92 for 2 in the 12th over. Obviously what just happened was the biggest 6 that's been hit in the games played today. And if you know anything about cricket, you know that you'll either need to continue using the same ball, or in the alternative, you have to use a ball that is in a similar state of wear as the others.
They need a ball, still need a
No,
ball.
they already did that. From the पहले inning में usually शायद बोलेगा.
So this ball was absolutely blasted over the top of mid-wicket, out of the ground, completely out of the ground. It's probably resting in a ditch somewhere at this point. And after a slight delay, we have now procured a proper replacement ball, and the match will be continuing shortly. So 92 for 2, we have 48 runs remaining in 8.4 overs. So in theory, it would be an academic conversation at this point as to when the match will be finished, or at least who will be the winner. But we'll have to keep watching to see what happens. AB now goes around the wicket to the right-hander. Driven down to long on for a single, 93 for 2 is the score. Okay. Pretty weak of me to put the phone with another gun out of here.
Wasn't sure.
Ball pushed through a little bit more quickly, a little bit flatter. So after the first ball of the second ball of the over, going for the longest 6 of the day, AB has pulled things back here. Pulled around the corner, it's going to be 4 runs. So in the morning, the outfield was certainly a lot slower, as you would expect, as the sun has come out and a little bit of wind has picked up. Outfield is quickening up a lot, and so as we thought, it's a little bit easier to score in the evening or in the afternoon than it was in the morning.
We said it in our pitch report. We know everything. You even told the score. We have a script.
I'm actually sitting down with 2 fortune tellers, so. No, exactly, spot on. I think it was a bit slow, and then even started innings, there were a couple of hits which couldn't go to the boundary. But now, as the sun has come out more than it was earlier, it certainly has slightly changed the condition of the ground now, which is more favorable for the betting side. And we're looking forward to a really exciting finish. It's sort of even evenly poised at the moment, quite balanced. And
So 97 for 2 after 12. So question for our resident American cricket expert.
Yeah.
There is a difference between being a casual fan and then being an educated fan. But then there's also a difference between being an educated fan and somebody who goes all the way up to being able to coach the sport. So tell us a little bit about your coaching cricket.
Well, it's not maybe as exciting as it sounds. I looked around on anywhere on the internet for local cricket academies or anything. I would have taken anything, any kind of volunteer position. And Pranay Shah's Clear Lake Youth Cricket Academy popped up, and I contacted him. He said, "Yeah, come on out." So I did. And my wife and I both volunteered. She did a lot of the social media for a little while, yeah.
Fantastic.
And I wouldn't say that I'm even remotely a coach. I'm more of an assistant to the coach, as opposed to an assistant coach. I'm an assistant to the coach. So Amir Siddiqui is our coach, and I think everybody in the audience, or a lot of people in the audience, know who he is. So Amir is our coach, and I will, when we do the drills, I'll stand there with a baseball glove and catch the ball, and then when we do batting practice, I will be the wicket keeper. So such as it is. And also when we do bowling practice, I'm the wicket keeper. So yeah, so that's pretty much the extent of it. And it's not growing as much as we would like, but there's always time. And I think with this new USA cricket regime that's in place, we're hoping things are going to pick up. So that's kind of where I stand with the coaching at this point.
You said maybe 5 things that require follow-up. The very first thing that I'd like to know is, and we touched on this morning, how do you get women to love cricket? And it sounds like such an offensive question. I'm sorry for the way that came out, but in this country, and my perspective has always been national in nature, where it's really easy to find a bunch of guys from the subcontinent or from the Caribbean who play cricket on the weekends. It's much more difficult to find women who are playing cricket. There are a few pockets in this country where you can find good women's cricket. Georgia has a lot of good women's cricket. Florida does. Some places in California, a couple in New York. But by and large, I don't know what the exact percentage is, but I would assume it's somewhere around 90% of the cricketers in this country are women. So the fact that your wife volunteers and helps with the club is stunning in and of itself. Number one, because she's a woman. Number two, because she's American. So what are your thoughts on getting more women involved in the sport in this country?
Well, it's like getting more anybody involved in the sport. I think it's with the youth. I mean, it has to happen at the elementary school level to start with. It's got to build from there. Yeah, there is a 2. Nope, just a 1. So it's got to start at the elementary school level. Renee and I and my wife did some work at one of the elementary schools. We haven't been able to expand that yet. We'd like to. We still are very open to that, and we're definitely thinking about it. If we can get more volunteers, that would be the best thing. I think that's the main thing that we ran into, is we were overwhelmed with the number of kids and the number of volunteers. So sometimes it was 70 to 2. So I think if we had more volunteers, we would feel better about going into other schools.
Sure. So back to the cricket for a second. 101 for 2 after 13.1 overs. So we require another. By the way, I've been told never ever to do math on live TV or radio. So. Oh, that's a catch. Taken at long on. Another wicket goes down. So we're now 101 for 3 after 13.2. So we need another 39 runs from 6.4. So still evenly poised. I would still give the edge to the chasing side, but the match just got a little bit more interesting. And Captain America is about to make his entrance into the field of play. Majid Rizvi, aka Captain America.
One thing I really like about the Stallions is they are conscious of the camera, the direction in which it's standing, and they make their huddle right in the middle. So they save me from the work of going and panning and zooming. I love this team just for that reason right now.
That is a very astute observation. Really astute.
I just looked at, I need to pan, and I looked
Like
over
right
there.
there.
Yeah.
Love
So I
it.
put a spot on the feet going there.
So back to the subject of participation. And I know we when I told you I had a national focus, and we were looking at this in terms of numbers of kids who play cricket all around the world. Believe it or not, England has a fairly robust youth cricket community, but if I remember correctly from the research that we were doing, Australia was the one that, number one, had it most prominently as a national focus, as a focus of the national governing body. And in terms of the number of kids who are playing, they had, I believe, either the highest number or proportionate to the overall population, the highest number. Obviously, there's 1.2 billion people in India, so just any percentage of that will overpower everybody else. But in terms of the focus of the national board, Australia placed and places a very high focus on kids playing cricket. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's Cricket Australia has got their mission to make cricket #1 sport in Australia. As you got aware, guys are aware that Australia, they are good in pretty much every sports played around. A lot of people are, they're really fanatic about rugby, which gets played during the winter time of the year. And I think we were discussing it earlier that there are drop-in pitches in few grounds, which are primarily because there was a really close delivery, almost be the better, and it was almost bowled. Yeah, so with the drop-in pitches, they play rugby during the off-season, which is the winter time of the year, and then the pitches are dropped back in so that they can play cricket during the season. So yeah, Cricket Australia is making every effort in, trying to put every effort in to make sure that cricket remains number one sport in Australia. And it was a fascinating thing you were just discussing about with earlier, that about the participation of women. Like, I mean, I've come across women like in the sports where they just, they would rather prefer to watch the grass grow than become, involved with cricket. And with my sort of area, we struggle to get female participation as an umpire the game of cricket or become a referee. So at this point in time, I can tell you, like, there have been a lot of efforts putting in and promoting ex-players, like female players, to be involved with umpiring, and then all down the track become a referee of the game. So yeah, the structure is quite, there are opportunities available for female to take it as a career in Australia. I think that will be the next step for you guys after you have a sound structure in place. Then to get the female cricketers in, and then have open to both the male and female community in the country. So.
You're absolutely right about that. I made this point in a discussion some months ago when I spoke to a Pakistani TV station, that the gap between the top players in the world, the top teams in the world on the men's side is tremendous. Even from 1 to 10 right now, it's a huge gap. For the US men's team to compete at the highest level is going to take another generation, realistically. Even if we do everything perfectly well here, now, it's going to take another generation. By contrast, the gap between the top teams in the world on the women's side and the US is not as big. So any amount of focus, any amount of focus on the women's side that just acknowledges the fact that there are athletes and there is an opportunity for those athletes to compete at the highest level. Any amount of focus, I think, will do very well in terms of being able to get us to the point where we're having women compete at the highest level. Back to the cricket that we're watching for a second. 102 for 3, or 103 for 3, check that, after 14.4. I would think that in the next 5 years, we will see something where we produce a lot of cricketers. There's something, that is one of the most dangerous things that you as a cricketer and as a fast bowler can have happen, is a drive that hard come ripping right back at you. He did well to put his hand up. It would have been miraculous if he took that catch, but more importantly, he protected himself from being hurt there. And at the end of the over, we are 103 for 3. So, back to our point. Give me your thoughts about what I just said.
Actually, one point I would rather like to make here, that the bowler made sure that the last thing as an umpire we want, being at the bowler's end, that it deflects off the bowler's hand and gets to us. So I could see umpire Altaf making a really good effort of going to the opposite side, making sure that he doesn't get in the way of the ball coming to his direction. I have personally, with my experience, I've in the last 4 years, I've been fortunate to umpire in the Women's Big Bash League in Australia, and I have clearly seen the difference when I started umpiring. And again, no disrespect to female cricket or women's cricket, they used to call it slow motion cricket, because it was slow. The skill set wasn't as high as it's now. But I've seen a massive change with this. We have already played 4 seasons of Women's Big Bash cricket in Australia, and it's growing. It's the amount of TV audience we're getting for these games is incredible. And the skill set of players have just gone so high that if we used to umpire this game a few years ago, they never used to be asked any questions if you were giving a decision of an out or not out.
Sure.
But now we can see, even the skill set, because there's money involved, and people, their careers on stake. So if I knock down an appeal to a fast bowler, a women fast bowler, I mean, there are questions asked, there are, gestures given, and, and again, I mean, if something goes wrong, then umpires are blamed for ruining the game out there, so, I mean, yeah, it's incredible. So, but yeah, it's good to see, it's getting competitive, and apparently there are a few players who are so good, or of such quality. There's a quick run there. Yeah, it's such a quality that they can actually play in a men's Big Bash league. They are good athletes, and they are good batters. They can hit the ball really well, and yeah. So that's my experience with female cricket.
Absolutely amazing. Now, again, back to the match that we're watching. 104 for 3 after 15.1. Fly to deliver, driven into the offside for a single. So, to the extent that most of the cricket in this country is played on either coast, and a small pocket in Dallas and a decent pocket here in the Houston area. One of the challenges that we have, this is going to be a catch, taken backward point, or kind of a wide second slip. So this match is now getting a lot more interesting. There's 4 down. Captain Majid Rizvi is now out, and Janisar Khan is at the other end, but 4 down, and the end of the innings being 26 balls away, with the chasing side still needing another 34 runs. This is evenly poised.
Yeah.
This match is a lot closer than I would have thought.
Correct, yeah. Captain Planet, Captain America.
Captain America.
Sorry. Could not rescue the...
On July 4th, no less.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So, one of the things that I have to love about cricket is, who was it who said it was a game of glorious uncertainties? So all you need is, even if you're chasing in a T20 match, if you're chasing 65 runs, the captain of the side will tell you, all we need is 10 good balls. 10 good balls wins this match. Well, we've already gotten 4 good balls. The chasing side is now looking up at a run rate. I refuse to do the math live, but I'm seeing it somewhere around 8. Wait, we should ask our engineer here to do it for us.
You can't do that run right away.
But this match is really getting a lot more interesting, and we're coming towards a really close finish here. And the match that after 1 over looked like it might be finished in about 6 or 7 overs is now poised to go all the way down to the wire.
Exactly, Brian. Just one more interesting fact here that, now the biased opinion is about to come from an umpire that we don't care who wins or who loses the game, but the umpiring standard has been pretty good. There hasn't been any controversial decision in the game, and even the LBW decision was accepted, by the player. So yeah, it's going pretty good umpiring of this game. So
always an umpire. So Munir, this is a match that it's had its twists and turns, and I would think that 10 overs ago, 12 overs ago, we would have thought that this match would have been finished in very short order. But it's now poised very interestingly. What are your thoughts?
So my take is that the key to this game is one person, number 92, Janisar Khan. And he's well settled and he's been batting for quite some time. So that's the wicket that the Stallions really need at this hour.
Yep.
And I think if they can just get him, the game probably at this moment I would lean 60-40 in favor of Knight Riders. But it could, with that one wicket, it could swing 60-40 in favor of Stallions. So Janisar is a very experienced player, and once he's well settled in, he's going to take calculated risk. You can see he's just maneuvering the bowling, picking up those 1s and 2s, and when he gets bad balls, he dispatches them. And if he keeps playing the same way, 7 to 8 and over, maybe even 9, is not a mountain for him to climb. So it really depends if they can stifle him and keep him away from the strike, and keep picking up wickets at the other end. And maybe that might trigger some kind of a panic shot or some kind of a response from Janissar. So, but it's a nail biter. I think we're getting there. So let's see which team holds their nerves in these last few minutes.
So Tim, I'm extremely biased.
Okay.
Extremely.
Okay.
But if I'm ever asked the question, which is more exciting, a cricket match or a baseball game, my default position is a cricket match, even without even knowing anything else. But with a match that is poised this interestingly, that lasts about as long as a baseball game, what are your thoughts about being able to sell this format of cricket to a wider American audience? I don't think there's any pretense that nobody in this country would try to sell test cricket or maybe even one-day cricket to an American audience. But this format, I would think, would translate pretty easily. What are your thoughts?
Oh yes, I definitely agree with that. And in terms of especially what you said about Test cricket in one day, I mean, of the three, this is far and away the format that Americans would be able to gravitate to. I think, I've been to a CPL game in Florida.
Okay. I was probably there.
Yeah, you were probably there, yeah. And, I mean, that atmosphere would translate with very little differences to typical Americans. There's a shot. That was a 4.
4 runs.
4 runs. So that atmosphere would translate very well, I think, to an American audience. I mean, you really wouldn't have to change much of anything. They have the DJs playing, the bands. They've got the cheerleaders, of course. Americans love cheerleaders. I think it would. If you take what the CPL is doing and maybe tweak it just a little bit, just for, specifically for Americans, I think it would catch on pretty well if we could ever get on TV. That's the big thing. You have to get on TV where people can watch it.
So I take every point that you just made and completely agree with you. So Munir, I think you mentioned that Janissar is a key to the rest of this innings. So Harris Latif got 2 straight and he flicked him elegantly behind square for 4. He now drives very airily over the top of the covers, lands just short of the man in the outfield. So he looks as though he's looking to try to put things away himself. Beautiful delivery. Expected a catch.
Crowd catch.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So, a wealth of experience and talent at the wicket right now. If you are rooting for the Stallions to lose, the 2 batsmen at the wicket are the 2 that you want. Oh, he bowled him! That came off of beautiful delivery. Slow ball, cut in off of the seam and took off stump. And again, this match is now moving in a very, very tricky direction. 5 wickets in a down.
They look after me with the position of their huddle. So again, it's a good effort by the Stallions. Might have to do a little tweaking. Yeah, a little offset.
So 5 down.
They're losing their match awareness.
16.2.
They had the script.
16.3 rather. We're still 11, we're still 29 runs adrift of the total. We're looking at 20 balls to go. This match, I've said it 4 or 5 times already, has gotten a lot more interesting.
They got left at home.
Oh, I see that. This is at a higher level. The talents are being wasted here.
One-man production.
Okay, so speaking of one man, you are far and away the only person who I would trust to ball that ball for the rest of the game. So you should probably get in this chair.
That's too nerve wracking right now. I just don't know which way this is going to swing.
Is that Jawad?
Jawad, yeah.
Okay, new batsman Jawad Khalid. Slower Yorker, and it's driven back to the bowler who cannot field cleanly and scramble through for a single. So Janisar Khan is now on strike, and I think the consensus on the commentating team is that he is the difference right now between victory for the Stallions and the loss by the Stallions. Yorker, well bowled, defended back to the bowler. A very successful over by Haris Latif. And at the end of that over, the score is 112 for 5. 3 overs remaining, 18 balls, and 28 runs.
He's 7 overs.
7. There's Haris somewhere.
Come on, guys, we got this from here.
Can G get a goal now?
Don't miss one way.
Haris has got. Haris has been 2 for 4.
4 required right now.
8.4.
Something like that.
I'll take your word on it.
Wakasa, they've got some good stats, all of them.
So, look, this game would have already been finished if Chief was to.
Probably stayed 4 overs.
Yeah.
He's an opener, that's what he did. He's just going. Such a leg spinner from Dallas.
So Sachin, the leg spinner from Dallas, is now bowling to Jawad Khalid, who is a competent batsman who hits a very, very long ball. But I think it's fair to say would be more comfortable when he was batting first with 4 overs to go rather than batting second in a very close match. Big hits, but how much distance? Not much distance. I would think this is catchable, and it is taken long off. Big, big wickets. 112 for 6 after 17.2. And this game, we can all say it in unison, is getting interesting.
And Brian, I had to come on the mic to bring everyone's attention to this little kid who just took a catch. We obviously couldn't pan to it, but it seemed the ball was going to go outside the boundary. He judged it, he settled under it, and took an amazing catch. So that's Hamza Khalid, an under-19 player from the Smart Choice National Cricket Academy. And he was the one who also took a pretty amazing catch a couple of overs ago at long on to dismiss another player. So the under-19s, the mandatory under-19, they're making an impact. And he has taken a couple of high-pressure catches. And in games like these, it eventually comes down to catching and fielding. And it's the under-90s who are stepping up and making it count.
Oldest rule in cricket, catches win matches. And the fact that these catches are being taken by a young, talented player does my heart proud, because it simply means that the focus of this organizing group to make sure that there are U19 players on the field makes all the difference in the world. So 112 for 6. Jermaine Levine is the batsman who is now at the non-striker's end because the batsman crossed while that ball was in the air. And it is on the shoulders of the great Janisar Khan. Fielders in the deep at long on, cow corner, and square leg. Ooh, he almost shot that on. Big swipe, really kind of an agricultural shot, under edge, but it misses everything. And at the end of the day, it's just a dot ball. pull towards that man in the deep. It's going to be just a single. So one ball remaining in, oh, I checked that. One ball remaining in the over, and I mentioned Jermaine Levine. I may have been wrong, because this person looks like he's right-handed. Who's that batsman? Oh, he's turned around. Okay, this is facing around.
He took his guard. As
Yes.
That's maybe a new norm, some new technology that's coming through.
I've never seen that in 20 years. I'll
So-
put him on report, you know, it's confusing now, but
So Jermaine Levine is going to be on strike. Sachin, the leg spinner, is bowling around the wicket to him. Defended, and a quick signal being run here. Oh, that's very close. In fact, they're appealing at the bowler's end, or the keeper's end. Not out, says umpire, out off. One ball remaining, 114 for 6 is the score. Last ball of the over coming up. Sachin, the huge wicket early this over, and is looking to close out strong against Janissar. Oh, edgy. Here comes a throw to the bowler's end, dived by Jermaine Levine, or by Janissar. If that ball had hit directly, he would have been in trouble. As it turns out, single is run, and that's the end of the over. 115 for 6 is the score. So 2 overs remaining. 116, check that. 2 overs, and they need 24 runs. They need 2 runs every ball from this point.
still opted for the leg spinner in the 18th over, and that paid off. He took a wicket. So at this point in time, I think Janissar Khan is the difference between the so if Janissar stands there, still gettable, the total. But yeah, I've actually liked the strategy by the Stallion to opt to start with the spinners, the initial couple of overs, and then at this point in time bring in Sachin. And as I said, it paid off. They got a wicket, and I've liked their aggression of just opting for with that aggression of getting wickets rather than defending their total. So yeah, interesting game. Can't say much at this point in time, but Janissar is the key.
We are on pins and needles here. This ball has the feel of a final, and it's the first game of the tournament.
Still claiming to be a fortune teller?
I gave that up a long time ago. So 25 runs. I said 24 earlier. It's actually 25. You know. From the top end?
Is that a helmet change? Is that what we're doing here?
Just take it off the helmet because it's a spin. But that's not really the captain's given instructions. Under the guise of, I need to, this helmet doesn't feel right. Can
Ron, since you were really good, I won't use the term slogger, you said, but had you been in this situation in the 19th over with 25 to get,
Sure.
with few wickets in hand, what would be your strategy to go about this, getting this total?
That's a very good question. I was a left-handed hitter, and I'm noticing that from this end, Sachin was bowling. He's a leg spinner. Meat and drinks, the left-handed hitter. From the other end, a finger-spinning left-hander. Meat and drinks. So, if you're asking me if I prefer to be Jermaine or Janissar, I would at this point definitely prefer to be Jermaine.
I actually forgot that you're from Jamaica, aren't you? Shouldn't have asked this question.
shot. Oh, finger spinner. Height. How much distance? 6. That is a huge hit. Effortless 6 by Janissar. So immediately the bowler is under pressure. First ball of his over disappears over the top of long on. In fact, the way that the long on fielder was poised, I thought he might be in with a chance to catch it, but it sailed over his head. We now require 19 runs from 17 balls. Now one hit makes a very, very big difference in the context of the game. Almost back to a run a ball at this point. Again, this is a bigger hit and a much better hit. Over the top of extra cover, another ball is lost. This game just swung again. 2 hits, 13 runs required off of 16 balls. Normal cricket wins it from here.
Yeah, exactly. Even though he's been given all sort of expert opinion from the boundary by his teammates, which he has completely ignored, and he's opted for what you actually said earlier. I mean, he's playing like a Jamaican at the moment. So yeah, we know the result if he plays this sort of spirit.
Well,
Careful now, he might throw it away.
2 amazing strikes to start this over. The 19th over, which in most instances is the more crucial in the context of a chasing match. 2 great strikes. The one over long on was effortless. The one over extra cover was a little bit more effort and it went along a lot further. But at the end of the day, the match has swung clearly now. If before Munir it was 60-40, what are your numbers now?
So I think with 13 to go of 10 balls, as you said, it's just knocking singles now. Probably 80-20 now in favor of the Knight Riders. He's going around the wicket now, and bowls a full toss. Janissar misses out. I think that was bread and butter, so they'll come back for 2 more. And they've so far bowled 5 overs of seam, which is 4 from Haris and 1 from Rajesh, the first over, and it's been 14 overs of spin. I'm also looking at Hamza Khalid, the under 19, who is a pretty decent seam bowler. Runs in, bowls quick, has a great rhythm. I don't think he's going to go to him in the last over now.
You're assuming there is going to be a last over. Feel from around the wicket more in aspiration than reality. Be really difficult to get that one, and umpire Altaf rightly says not out. So 2 balls left. We are at we're 11 runs to go for them to complete the victory. Janissar looking to end things as quickly as possible. Drives this one down the ground, long on off the fence and fields it, restricts them to a single. So 7 balls remaining in the innings and 10 runs remaining for victory. What will Jermaine's approach be here, as he does in his apparently unique way, takes that guard as a right-handed batsman and then switches around? What will his approach be? Is he going to try to finish things, or not finish, but at least get that much closer, or is he just going to simply push the ball and get the strike to start the final over? Goes for a big sweep, not out. Ball trickles away. That was actually not very far away from being out. Obviously, at our angle, we can't see the line of the ball, but looking at where it pitched and looking at the shot that he chose to play, I would think at minimum it might have been an ill-advised shot.
Yeah, I'm actually being an observer and being an umpire here. The first thing I would have done is actually spoken to the spinner, because he's supposed to only appeal once, but in his one appeal he appeals.
Janissar is like, yeah, our stream just got a little censored for a moment. Yeah, now we have censored.
Okay, you were saying.
Yeah, quite passionate with their appeal, the spinner. So. Yeah.
So I think one appeal does the job rather than appealing multiple times. So that's interesting, like the way these spinners are passionate.
I would expect a pace bowler to be that passionate. I wouldn't accept that from a spinner. I'm sorry. So 10 balls remaining, 6 runs, and we're. What did I say?
6 balls remaining.
6 balls remaining, 10 runs. And some really creative editing. By Mr. Munir here, and actually, at this point, let's see how interesting this is going to get. Bang! In the air. What are the odds? 6. Janissar being Janissar. We are 4 runs away from the end of this game. Janissar Khan losing wickets all around him, but he kept his head, and he is now on the edge or on the berth of giving victory to his side. Four runs remaining from 5 balls. Hammered. Oh, fielded very smartly there by Captain Ahmed, but no run. That's not right, is it? In the air, down towards long on, well fielded, and they will not come back for a second. So single. So 3 runs remaining, 3 for victory. Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Again, Hamza again, under 19 player with a beautiful piece of fielding there in the deep, restricting the batting side from taking more than 1 run with a quick pickup and a very accurate throw back to the bowler's end. And so now 3 balls remaining and 3 runs to get. Here we are. Big sweep, not out, but the dot ball thrown to the bowler's end. Oh, not going to be out. I don't think he did not collect the ball. Leg by. I'll tell you what, if that ball had been collected cleanly, there would have been a wicket. So now we need 2 after that scrambled leg by, a desperation scramble. 2 runs remaining.
Broken bat. The handle came off of the bat.
Oh wow! So I've never seen that happen.
Replacement of a bat.
Let's focus on the.
You're the expert.
Yeah, just an interesting factor here. Even though the fielder did not collect the ball cleanly and attempt a run out, but the batter, as soon as he made his ground and actually lost contact with the bat, there has been a change in law. So let's say if the previous laws, had he lost the bat, he would have still be given out a run out. But now once he makes the contact and on further, like running, he loses contact with his bat and gets run out, then it's a not out. So once he makes his ground, he's safe. So that's a new change to the laws.
Thank you for entering the umpiring 101 class. Last 2. Big hit in the air, down, diving catch, no! 4 runs, and that is the end of the game. Janissar does what Janissar does. Victory to his side. Really exciting game that comes all the way down to 2 balls remaining. Janissar powers it in the gap between long on and mid-wicket for 4, and that is the end of the game. Thoughts?
Great finish. That was a fantastic finish. I really enjoyed that. Like you said, a while ago we were thinking this would be over a long time ago. But right down to the next to last ball.
For a match that represents the start of the tournament, this really did have a feel of much more excitement than one might have expected. And I think credit to the Stallions, they fought very hard and they almost defended what was probably right at par, maybe just below par score. It took our AB captain made some decisions at the beginning that we were questioning, but what do we know? All we're doing is being out here on the sideline. The decisions that he made got his team to within 2 balls of what would have been a very amazing upset. But at the end of the day, the cool veteran Janice Arkan manages to skillfully manipulate the strike and then at the end close things out with a vicious hit that just eludes the diving fielder from long on, and that is the end of the game.
We need to clap for the umpires, man. Don't forget that, alright?
Well done, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good job, guys. Great game.
Good game.
That was a hell of a game. First up?
Yes. Are you tell you behind me now? Yeah. So how much of a break for the next game?
Yeah.
An hour.
Feeling like 100 or
Oop. Yeah. What?
Was there a game going on down
Yeah,
there?
yeah. I'm just saying.
That field was not open.
The last time I was here, which was probably a year ago, it was under construction, and I thought it was good to be a clay wicket, but it's actually they put a cement wicket.
That play beside.
Huh?
That play beside.
I walk over there, look at them. Already.
No, it's not ready, but play beside it.
I mean, when I was there, them put clay like them getting ready to to build it.
That's what I said. Play here.
Yeah.
But you can't really do.
Yeah. Well done, sir. That was fun. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No question.
Next game, what time? 2:30?
Cold water or something?
Look, see, there's
They're finished over there. Yeah, so what time?
They're done?
They're finished over there. What time? 2:30?
Morning.
Sorry.
Hey, those balls?
Yeah. Don't feel cold.
They're finished over there. I don't know, but they're finished. Just start again. 2:30.
All right.
Guys, I gotta head back. Just came out for the one game.
It's so good meeting you. Thank you.
Johnny.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll see you around.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'll be back.
Oh, it's coming good.
Yeah, you got this?
Yeah, pretty good, yeah.
Okay. Let me set everything up.
Didn't realize that it's supposed to be there and then he put me there. I was just like, set to Brian.
No, that's how it is.
If he gets him into umpiring, that'll be interesting.
No, he umpire.
I'm umpiring Austin.
He umpires
Yeah.
down here.
Bobby, can you get this from Johnny?
Johnny?
Yeah.
I'll call you.
You don't want me him. Hey, you don't want me him.
I got
You
it.
guys know what's going on.
No.
Someone asked you, man.
I don't want it to look like.
Someone asked you.
Somebody.
Johnny the Pro. No, congratulations. Johnny the Pro. Johnny the Pro has always. drive here, and you just this is marker 1, this is marker 2. Is
Okay.
that be good?
Yeah. Hold on. Out, down, up. Shit, what did I just do? How can I tell if it's recording? I think I just hit something.
I think
Money.
it's 1000 yeah.
Did I just hit something? Why is that flashing?
Oh no, that keeps flashing.
Okay.
That's not an issue.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Although they're hearing all of this too.
No, it's fine.
Oops. It's all good. They know us. We are like pop-up shop. That's how we are. यारी भाई मैं चेक कर रहा हूँ. Yanni the Pro did 68 not out of 55 balls.
68. Fantastic.
Good now.
And bowling, economic.
So guys, that's a wrap up from game number 1, the inaugural game of the Advanced LED Houston Premier League. And what a game it was. We saw a tightly fought contest. We didn't think that the Stallions would be able to make a comeback and fight this game right down to the last over. And at a point in time, it seemed that they were walking away with the game. But that's where experience comes in. And in the Houston circle, whenever you refer to experience, there is no better name than Janisar Khan. Jani bhai, how's the feeling after chasing that total down and really anchoring the innings all the way to the last over? Because once you get in, you get settled, the coaches and everyone tells you, don't get out, bring it home. And that is exactly what you did.
Last night when we started the journey for the HPL, and we just talked, our coach said, and everybody agreed with that self-belief. So everybody was telling me that you need to be there for last over, and we believe when we're gonna chase this target. It was a low-scoring game in the beginning. That was like overcast condition, but the Stallion team did pretty good with us. You know, they fight back, and yeah, it was a good game.
And apart from the local players, was it a little rivalry, cold war going on with Kenjige, your national team companion?
No, Kenjige, like Nosh is always like my, younger brother to me, and it's fun when playing with your teammates and this kind of events. Usually we're playing for country and all this, and yeah, it was a good surprise to see this morning he's show up with the squad, a few more other guys. It's a good event, good show till now, yeah.
And one last comment, Jani bhai, that there were wickets falling around you and some players played rash shots under pressure. You can probably say that. But you kept your calm and you let the run rate go to almost 12 in over, 25 were needed of the last 2 overs. How did you have that self-belief and confidence that when it comes to the last 2 overs, I can hit those sixes? Because after you, there wasn't any batting left. If those 2 sixes didn't come off, you probably won't be standing here with us. So what was the confidence that you took it so deep?
When we lost the ball outside, when our batsman hit the 6, that ball was a bit harder than normal ball. I was keep telling, bring that ball. And, we've been using that this first inning, which is already bowled like 20 overs in it. That ball was soft. You cannot hit it. You need a really good bat speed to hit with that. So, might you agree? But that's why we stretched the game. Like 8 overs, we need 40 runs. We thought we're gonna chase it like next 3 overs and so, and then suddenly ball change, and that benefits goes to the bowling side. And but end of the day, thank God, it was I enjoyed a lot. That last 2 sixes was good. Thank God, because they used their own bowling strength. I was a part timer, so I was waiting for that over and with the wind as well. So it was what they said, ice on, whatever. So it was good.
Cherry on the cake. Cherry on the cake. 2 sixes with cherry. So, Jani bhai, for your wonderful performance of 68 not out from 55 balls, I checked your score. You were 41 of about 49 balls, and in the next 5 to 6 balls, you went off, you picked off, and you scored 25 runs. So So that's what experience is. And for your opening spell, you get the man of the match, and our umpire from Australia, Fawad, is going to present you the trophy. So amazing performance to Johnny and to the Knight Riders for winning their first game. Wish you all the best. We have lunches ready. We'll go off air for the next hour, and we'll come back with the next game from Moosa Cricket Stadium. Just to remind you, we're running slightly delayed today, so the next game would be on at 2 p.m. and you'll get updates from us as we go live. So look forward to catching up with all of you pretty soon.
Yeah, you handle that. You need
Switching it around.
2:30, 2:30. Start.
Yeah, 2:30 start, that's right.